Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Hippest Trip on YouTube. Thanks for coming. Peace, love, kittens, and all that good stuff. Positive vibes. We are excited tonight because I'm going to break out of the regular routine where we're always talking about Mandela effect, although we'll talk a little bit about that. We can't ever seem to get away from that. But I've been trying to set up this interview for a while, and thanks to my friend Melanie, working behind the scenes, she made this happen. And we are going to get into some pretty hip topics tonight. What if I explain to you that kind of what we know in society, and if you've watched this show, you know that a lot of things that we take for granted, we're kind of half-truths, that we really never get the full story of how stuff happened, and we get revisionist history, how things happen that really we don't get all the pieces. And what if I told you that there was a time where there was no money, and there was no barter, and there was no trading, that there were societies who ran peacefully and happily without these concepts? And I think it's weird because, you know, we grow up learning, well, cavemen were bartering and trading, and they slowly moved into, you know, they didn't want to carry around bars of gold, so they moved to fiat currency, and this is what happened. And you know, and the thing the government explains to all of us, and it kind of makes sense. You're like, okay, well, I could see how all that would slide together. But one of the big pieces of history we're not told about is there was a time when money didn't exist. It was actually introduced. And some people think it was introduced as a tool to control the masses, to start divisions and make people chase the almighty dollar and kind of forget about communal living. Now, before we start all this, for you guys that have been watching me a long time, you realize that, you know, back in the day, I was pretty hardcore anarcho-capitalist, that I know my Austrian economics. I know all this, you know, very much based in capitalism, that an idea like this, I would have thought 5 years ago would be, how could this possibly work? This is crazy. But as I've kind of aged a little, and are trying to work my way into a better position of being, I realized that they might be right. Is there a way we could live without money peacefully? And is that the next step in evolution? And I bring you this to the Mandela channel because of this. A lot of us in the Mandela effect feel that we need to rise above and rise our vibration, walk closer to God, whatever your flavor, however you say it, that we need to be better with ourselves and bring ourselves up. I like to say that we're going to evolve, that we're working on involving mankind. And I've talked about all kinds of things on this show about things like the non-aggression principle and, you know, how to live a peaceful life. And one of the big things is, what about money? Is it possible that this is the next step for us evolving, is to completely forget about what we take for granted and always known? Have you ever really sat around and questioned, hey, could we live without money? Like that never even came into my head. That's just not something we're taught to believe because it's so alien and foreign concept. So I am very excited about this interview because we're going to find details out. So let me introduce my guest without further ado. My first guest is Rebecca Gretz, and she is the national coordinator for the Ubuntu movement in the US. So go ahead and say hi and tell us about yourself a little.
Hey, thanks, Taryn. Yeah, I'm Rebecca, and I became the national coordinator for the Ubuntu Planet USA movement or organization this February, and I got involved in Ubuntu. In the Ubuntu movement last summer, really, when I just finished watching a climate collapse video with Ian McEwan, maybe Ian something, and I was completely disheartened because I have been on a consciousness rising path for a little while, and thinking that, okay, it's all through consciousness, we're gonna make it happen, it's very exciting, and then this guy comes and says, yeah, we have about 20 years and we're all done. I was like, well, what's the point then? What is the point? And then I was reminded that everything is energy, and energy is mutable, and can be affected by our consciousness. So, and then very shortly after that, a couple of days after that or something, I was introduced to Ubuntu, and I was just, as soon as I heard, I actually watched a 2.5-hour Michael Tellinger video where he was talking about the history of money and sort of the things that Michael talks about, ancient civilizations and all of that kind of stuff, which was interesting, but not really what I mean, it was interesting, and I was watching it. And at the end, for the last 15 or 20 minutes, he started talking about this thing that he called Ubuntu, and every cell in my body just was like, oh my gosh, that's it. That is how we can move into a completely new paradigm without having to struggle, without having to fight each other, without having to go into this collapse space. And with that higher frequency of consciousness, we can actually shift what's happening on the planet, Earth-wise. So I dove in head first, feet first, whatever, started running in the water as fast as I could, and learning everything that I could about Ubuntu contributionism. And it just sort of has moved from there. I had the privilege of meeting Michael Tellinger in the fall when he came to the East Coast. I was in Athens, Ohio, and connected with him very, very deeply and well. And at that point decided that I really wanted to be as involved as I could possibly be. And it just sort of unfolded that the national coordinator was a role that was needed, and I had the passion and sort of time. I steal time from everywhere to give to Ubuntu because this is a volunteer or contribution position. All of the positions, everything, and all the people who are currently passionately working for the Ubuntu movement are doing it voluntarily, and we're hoping to change that. But right now, it's not changed yet. So I spend about 30 to 40 hours a week on Ubuntu related things, as well as a fantastic team of people who are doing something similar. So that's a little bit about my story on coming to Ubuntu.
Appreciate you filling us in on how that started. And for you guys just tuning in, I know some of you roll in late. We're going to get into what Ubuntu is and talk about it. But I want to get a little background on these guests first so you guys can hear them out. My next guest is a regional coordinator, mainly based out of Colorado. Shaylia is, like I said, the regional coordinator. And Shaylia, go ahead and say hi and tell us about how you came to get this job and how you came into the Ubuntu.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you just fine.
Through? Okay, great. I came into it from two different directions. One is the economy of the planet. I have been watching our collapsing economy now since about 2005. And the other part of it was the fascination with the Anunnaki and the Sumerian culture. And I discovered Michael Tellinger because I was looking at the Anunnaki. And Michael Tellinger had also connected because of things he was working on with the history of money and how it evolved out of the Sumerian culture. And that combined with my watching the economy of the world in the process of collapse. And I also, during that whole period of time, became extremely anti-government, that I was seeing that government as it stands today, and it doesn't matter if we're talking capitalism, communism, socialism, totalitarianism, corporatism, I don't care what we're talking. Government as it stands today, the primary imperative of government is to stay in power. And the primary action against the people is that government always is violent toward the people that it's supposed to be serving. And those kinds of feelings combined with understanding that the economy was going down fast and that money was an artificial construct from the very beginning was what really pulled me towards getting involved in the Ubuntu movement. You know, the money, I was taught in school that, and I'm sure every single person listening was taught in school that money was something that rose up out of barter and trade to make barter and trading easier. And the truth is that never happened. There is no culture on this planet that created the concept of money in any form out of barter and trade. We had indigenous cultures all over the world for thousands of years engaging with each other without any money at all, without any concept of money, without bills of exchange, whatever it was, no concept of money anywhere except one culture. And that culture, money was introduced from the top down. Those discoveries is what really pulled me into Ubuntu. At the same time that I was learning about Ubuntu and really getting involved in it, I was also learning about the Mandela effect and having my mind completely blown about not comprehending what was going on. And I'm beginning to get to a point now where I'm seeing the merging of the higher level of consciousness of people that is happening because our world is, the reality is shifting all around us, and it's forcing us into more assessment about what we are as humans. And that very that exercise in being required to really look at what does it mean to be a human being is also catapulting people into a new level of consciousness of how we should be behaving with each other as other human beings. And that is leading into a moneyless society. Because the fact of the matter is that money creates wealth, but money also creates poverty. And we wouldn't have the extreme levels of poverty on this planet if we didn't have money. People like to focus only on the wealth part, but the reality is that money and the existence of money is what's causing the vast levels of poverty on this planet. So that's how I got into it.
And how long ago did you guys get into it? Like, repeat that again. Were you about a year or two for you?
For
you
me? No, it hasn't been a year.
Okay, so fairly new.
December, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And let's back up a little bit and explain. I like talking about the history because the way I learned about this was, like you, I'm not a big fan of government. I also agree that they pretty much only have one tool to make things work, and that's force. And if we're going to evolve to a higher place, you can't use force on people to get what you want. You can't coerce them. You can't push them. So is there such thing as a society? Can we move as a direction away from using force on our neighbor? And that sounds like a very simple concept. But when you explore it, it's actually much more difficult because we're so ingrained in a society where force is the norm that, if you want to complain about your neighbor, you go to the police and call them to make them cut their grass or something. You're using force on your neighbor. You just don't realize it. It's by proxy. You're sending a man with a gun to your friend's house to make them, your neighbor's house to make them do what you want. Or you pass a law and make them do what you want. And so I understand this concept of there's got to be a better way. Everybody's like, well, it's the best way we have. And it's like, well, maybe it's time we evolve past that. There's got to be a way we can get along with each other without using force and coercion. And I believe that money is also, in a sense, along those lines, because I don't think you could get people to do evil and terrible things if you didn't dangle money out in front of them. Like, how many people would sign up to go to war if they weren't getting, all the benefits and pensions? Sure, there might be some, but not as many as there are now. How many? The idea that you can use money, that you can print out of thin air, fake money, and do whatever you want. It's a very broken system that's always going to end bad. There's no way this ever ends good in any society when you have fiat currency introduced like this. And for you listeners that don't know what I mean, fiat currency means fake money that you can just print out of thin air, which is what all governments pretty much run on. At one point, there was backed by gold and silver or something like that, but not anymore. That's ancient history. So which one of you, let's start, maybe Rebecca. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little summary about, for somebody who's never heard of this concept, and because a lot of my listeners don't really understand it, why don't you give us a little breakdown of how it works?
Okay, so I'm actually going to give an example of what's happening in a town in Colorado called Walsenburg, and that is a town that is beginning. So the first thing actually that I want to say is that this does not exist anywhere yet as far as the Ubuntu contributionism one small town concept. There are intentional communities that are living without money, and there are some that have lived quite successfully all around the world, Findhorn being one of them, as far as within their own boundaries. But as far as what the Ubuntu contributionism blueprint is talking about is sort of growing outside of its own boundaries. So currently in Walsenburg, Colorado, and this movement is coming sort of what I would call from the ground up. There's a man named Frank Kirkpatrick who moved to Walsenburg in January or so of this year, and set up a nonprofit immediately. His whole mission in life right now is to set up a housing space where people can come, and he's calling it the transition house, where people can come and begin to work in the community. So one of the problems with Ubuntu is it doesn't fit very nicely into a nutshell of 5 minutes or whatever, but because it's a system, it's a whole shift in system, just like it's difficult to explain our current system in 5 minutes. This is true of Ubuntu as well. But the very basics is that we live in community as far as the choices that we make are for the highest good of everybody in the community. We do not exchange money between each other. We contribute hours toward community projects, and eventually the long-term goal is that everything is a community project. So going back to Walsenburg, this last trip down there, I met a woman who is a goat farmer, and she sells goat milk and goat cheese and goat ice cream and whatever, but she's the only one doing it, and she's wearing herself out. If the Ubuntu contributionism system was in place down there, then her goat farm would become one of the community projects. And as one of the community projects, we would figure out how many hours that goat farm needs of labor to run itself, to produce what it produces. And so we'd figure that out, and then we would produce 3 times more than that. And the reason for the 3 times more is so that Ubuntu can expand. So the other 2/3 get sold outside of the community. The first third is given to the people who are participating in the Ubuntu community. And the other 2/3 are sold, and the money that comes back in from, a very important part of what the selling of it is that it's sold for less than any other goat farmer can sell milk, because she doesn't have to pay for labor, which in her case right now, she's not paying for labor because she's the only one doing it. So, and she's barely surviving really. So in her case, the Ubuntu contributionism model would support her tremendously, because she would have more time. She would be able to produce more milk, and she would be receiving what the rest of the community was producing as well. So the tomato farmer, she would be getting tomatoes from the tomato farmer. Everybody who's participating in the community receives their share of everything that the community produces. So you're not just getting, so if I work on the goat farm, I'm not only just getting milk from the goat, I'm also getting the tomatoes and the, whatever the community produces through the community projects, everybody gets their share of. And then the other 2/3 are sold, and the money that comes back in is again divided in thirds. So the first third goes to, if we're talking about the goat farmer, she gets 1/3 of the profits, because she's the investor or the owner, the farmer. She owns that company or that project. So she gets a third. A third goes back into the community itself as far as being able to produce more community projects. And the third gets distributed amongst all the people who are contributing their time into the community. And the reason for doing it this way is because we live in a financial system currently. And so to imagine that we can survive without money in our current system is not realistic. So we have to use the system in order to rise above it. So what ends up happening, because we're not using money between each other, if I'm part of that community, I'm receiving money that I'm not spending, because I don't have to spend it on my housing, I don't have to spend it on my food, I don't have to spend it on my, as long as I'm living within the community itself, I don't need money. So, but I'm still receiving money because of what the community sells outside. So if I decide, well, you know what, now I need to go to Dallas, Texas, I can take the money that I have received from all of the projects of the town, and I can go rent my car from Denver or whatever. I'm not stuck in Walsenburg. I can actually go out into the world. But when I'm in Walsenburg, I don't have to spend money at all. I don't have to spend any money in Walsenburg. As long as the Walsenburg community has everything that it, well, as long as the Walsenburg community is set up as a full-on Ubuntu community, and all of the businesses in Walsenburg are participating in the Ubuntu model.
Okay, let me see if I can break this down for people.
Thanks. Yep.
No. I think I'm hearing what you're saying, because, all right, obviously, it's pretty hard to go from where we are now to this type of system without having to use money. You can't just drop out tomorrow and be like, oh, we don't need money. So there's a transition period where you're going to be making money for a while. But my understanding is this, that you have a widget and the community helps produce the widget, and that you get to keep the community gets as many widgets as they need. They make so much that they can sell some to give back to the community, and they have so many that they can undercut the rest of the market around. So what eventually happens is you're just giving away these widgets to other communities.
You're not giving them away, but you are selling.
You're selling for a massive discount, like you're undercutting everybody around. So by doing that, you're encouraging them. They're going to say, "Wow, how are you getting this stuff so cheap? Maybe we could do this too."
Exactly.
That's the way you're saying it. Is you're using this as an outreach method to say, well, okay, if it's working in this community and they have all this abundant stuff, then maybe we could do it. And then it slowly spreads by community.
Exactly. So it becomes sort of like a domino effect. And then
eventually you don't need money because enough people are doing it in your community.
Exactly. And not only in your community, but hopefully the surrounding communities, especially around food. The food is the easiest thing to conceive of. So if we are growing hothouse tomatoes, and Safeway is selling hothouse tomatoes for $6 a pound, and we can sell them for $2 a pound, then everybody from within the town, even if they're not participating in the Ubuntu contributionism model, they're going to buy their tomatoes from the tomato stands that or whatever they're going, because money still drives us. So even when currently, when I want to support organic and I want to support local, when the price difference is so significant, like $4, I'm like, gosh, I really want to support local, but I can't afford that. I can't afford it. And the same thing will happen. And so I don't like to call it undercutting. I like to call it an invitation to do it differently. So we're inviting the other other shops, the other stores, the other whatever, to participate with us and be able to sell these tomatoes for $3 or $2 a pound as well. And if they don't want to do that, and that's actually one of the things, if there's something that the town needs, that we are paying for outside of the town, it's like, okay, well, let's start one of those companies, or let's invite a neighboring company to become part of our company. But if they say, no, I'm not interested in that, that's bullshit, I'm not going to do it, then we say, that's all right, you don't have to do it. We're not forcing anybody to do anything. So it's like, but we are going to build our own. And as soon as we build our own, as soon as we start a new community project that is that, that person will go out of business. And so there's an invitation to participate with us, but there's no coercion,
Right.
although it could be seen that way because they're,
Well,
using the word undercutting. But
I'm sorry if I just kind of explained it in a business sense. I didn't mean to be offensive.
Yep.
But here's what I'm trying to understand, because this is something, when we looked it up, there was some debate before I even came in, is this a voluntary system or not? And my understanding is these communities are completely voluntary, that you agree before you go in. It kind of works like a giant homeowners association. Here are the rules. If you don't like it and you don't want to follow it, you don't have to do it.
Exactly. Yep.
So this is a voluntary. You're not suggesting that this will be forced on everyone, or you're going to take over a town and make everyone live this way.
No. It's completely no. Everybody continues to have choice always.
Got it. Okay, so we understand that it's a voluntary system. You're not trying to co-opt whatever. What you're trying to do is set up a model that is so more superior that other communities want to do it out of their own.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey man, why would I work if I can contribute to this for 10 hours a week and then do whatever I want the rest of the time? Then and get all my needs met. Why wouldn't I do that? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. That's right.
Right.
Like it's a little bit of a no-brainer, but right.
Yeah, working a crappy job you hate for 40 hours a week and driving and commuting, and you're just trying to work for a paycheck. If you could remove that concept, it's laudable. Hey man, look, I only have to do I'm volunteering to go in. There's a small set of work that I hopefully get to pick what I want to do. And then after that, I can use the time to create, do art, do whatever hobbies I want, or do whatever. Is that my understanding?
Mostly, there are 3 hours a week. There are 3 hours a week that are contributed hours that are sort of assigned to you. 3 hours a week that are assigned to you. So you may be assigned driving the trash truck to pick up the trash. That may be your assignment for that week, and it's you put in 3 hours for that. But the other, each one of us is sort of expected to put in about 18 hours a week in the Ubuntu contributionism model. It's 18 hours a week, 3 hours for community projects, and then 15 hours, 3 hours a day for labor of love is what we call it. So, and that can be whatever you want to do, whatever you like to do, whatever is something that serves the larger community. It's not just serving you. So if you like to, and it's doing no harm, that is a big piece of it. It has to do no harm, because if there's something that you like to do that is, I don't know, you like to go smash windows out or something, that, there will be some rules of that kind, that you actually are serving the community and not hindering its ability to thrive. But those 3 hours a week are assigned, basically. But they are, if somebody doesn't have the physical ability to do something, they're not going to be assigned that to do.
So that's what I was wondering, like the people that are on disability or they just can't do this stuff, the community would work around that. They'd find some other way to use
Absolutely.
There's always something that a person can do. You have an old grandmother that cannot go out and work in the garden. She can rock babies.
Right. Okay.
There's always something that somebody can do.
Right. Okay, so we're going to get to all, like, I see the chat room talking, and of course, because, a lot of this stuff has been tried in the liberty community too. There's been some anarchist communities set up, and one of the first questions always is, what do you do with the people that don't follow the rules? There's going to be someone that decides to use violence, and there's going to be bad people. Yeah, that's a fact of reality. There's always going to be people that don't follow the rules, and I would assume that they're ostracized. They're not invited into the community, right?
They have a choice.
Or ejected out of the community. I mean, if they're dangerous.
Yeah. Well, actually, because this doesn't exist yet, we don't really know. But there is an assumption that as we move more fully into this kind of reality, that what is happening at the same time is a consciousness evolution for everybody. So right now, it's very difficult for us to imagine all of the changes that are going to take place, that are already taking place, actually. And what will be part of any community is the healers are going to be there, and without the limitation of money saying no, that this isn't financially viable, so we're not going to spend any money here. Without money telling us what we can focus our attention on, the level of medical expansion or health healing expansion, technology expansion, consciousness expansion, all of the things that currently are sort of deemed as fringe because they're not financially viable or they don't serve the system, will have the ability to all of a sudden blossom. So people who are, I mean, so we say people, there's always somebody, but if you look at the system that we're all coming out of, the reason that there's always somebody is because they feel like they're not being heard. They feel like they're not rich enough. They feel like they've been somehow marginalized. So that it's a way for them to be able to be seen, or to act out. And when you don't have that need anymore, because you're already being seen, you're already being supported, the community is operating from a completely different perspective. And so what is seen as, well, there's always those people, is just going to shift. That's a knowing inside of me, and obviously we don't have that as evidence yet because we're not there yet. But that is, I can feel it, that's where we're headed.
You feel that these communities attract kind of higher vibration people, where this wouldn't be as much of an issue as it is in regular society?
I have no doubt about it. Not only but I think that the Earth herself is beginning to vibrate at a higher frequency, and so we are all shifting toward that. And getting rid of money is a huge step in the right direction, because money, as has already been stated here, keeps us in a role of servitude to whomever, whether it's our boss or our government or whatever.
Right. So. And there's a good comment that Dr. Miller's saying in the comments section that, a Buddhist monastery that he lived in was run very similar. That this is not some sort of new concept. This is how it used to be done.
That's right.
Some of the old monasteries and stuff still do it like this. It's a voluntary choice. You don't have to, compared to what we have now, where you're forced into this system if you like it or not. Right. You're born on this piece of earth in this little section, and you're going to be told what to do if you agree to it or not. And if you don't like it, then we're going to use violence and make you like it.
That's right.
So compared to what we have now, sure, this doesn't sound perfect, but it's got to be way better than what we got.
Well, and we're evolving. I mean, this is an evolutionary process. Yeah, so from where we are right now, it's really difficult to imagine how it could be, how fantastic it can be. I mean, I totally understand that, and we will hopefully. My intention is to continue evolving. It's like, okay, I can see this plateau, but I know that there's another plateau above that I can't see yet.
We just don't know what's coming. All right, I'm going to throw some questions at our other guest,
Shalia,
because she have been. I know Shalia. All right, so let's talk a bit about the history behind this. Since we're talking about ancient cultures, this is more your forte. What is it like before money existed? How did these cultures run and work?
Well, okay, first of all, the place that money originated was in the Sumerian culture of the Middle East, between the Tigris and Euphrates River. The people, the humans, were essentially slaves. They had, now I'm going to give you the history according to the Sumerian tablets of the interaction between the humans and the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings that landed on the earth in order to mine for gold. And they created Homo sapien out of a DNA combination between Homo erectus and Anunnaki. And they created Homo sapien as a slave race, with the intention that the humans would go down into the mines, into the gold mines, and mine the gold for the Anunnaki. When there got to be a lot of humans, the Anunnaki, who were called the gods, appointed some of the humans to be priest kings over the other humans. then there got to be too many humans for the priest kings to be able to control them. And so the gods told the priest kings to introduce bills of exchange, which was the first concept of money. And the people were told, okay, you're free now. And the reality was they couldn't be controlled as slaves. There were just too many of them. So they introduced money to the people, and they said, now, we have all the food. We have all the materials you need to live. So you're free. You can do what you want. But if you want food, and if you want materials to live, if you want clothing, if you want housing, etc., you're going to have to pay us for it with these bills of exchange that we're going to give you when you work for us. That is essentially how the whole concept of money started in the Sumerian culture. Now, that was like approximately 6,000 years ago, according to the best understanding we have of the historical records. And it took, I mean, money spread outward from there. We had, you know, all of the tribes of Africa, the tribes of North and South America, the Landers, the Inuit, the Native American, you know, all of the other indigenous cultures all over the planet of people that lived there and interacted with each other and did not have barter and trade for the necessities of life within their own community. They had a complete concept of sharing, but that, yes, they did have barter and trade between themselves and other communities, other cultures on the planet. Not once in that entire, let's say 5,400 years, not once in that entire period of time did any other indigenous culture on this planet ever create so much as the concept of money. And what happened is that concept of money came out of the Sumerian culture and started spreading into Asia, into Europe, into China, into India. And it took 5,400 years for money to go from the Sumerian culture to all of those other cultures in that general continental area. And then Europeans started colonizing Africa, South America, North America. And up to that point, the people of those three areas, those three continents, had been living completely and totally without money. And the Europeans, the Portuguese, Italians, Spaniards, and English, and France, those five were the primary big ones. They, by colonizing into the other three continental areas, they introduced money to the other three continents. It only took 600 years from the time they started the colonization until what we have today, which we have a world that is 100% based on money. We don't have a culture on the planet that isn't based on money. So 5,400 years just to spread throughout the European Asian continent, and then 600 years to get the rest of the world. And when you discover the fact that no other culture ever created money. I was taught in school that the Central American Indians used cacao beans as money. Individual cacao bean was worth it as money. I've learned since that's not true. That wasn't true. People were trading for cacao beans because they wanted to make chocolate. They wanted to make cocoa out of their cacao beans. And they did not just take the cacao beans and then keep them and then use them in the way money would be kept and then used again. I was told that the Native Americans of the eastern coastal area used beads as money, but they did not conceive of it as money. They saw it as a trade item. They were trading the beads for whatever it was that they were receiving. And the only place money ever originated was out of that Sumerian culture, and it did not grow from the bottom up. It was forced on the people from the top down. And that's the key. That's a really important key.
Yeah, it's interesting if you go all the way back to the Sumerian tablets, like what the history is that never gets talked about. And the introduction of money, it makes sense to me. I mean, you know, a lot of people believe this was basically a slave planet, and still is in a way. That there is the greatest way to control a slave is to let them think they're free, because if they're not free, they're constantly fighting to be free. But if you can just leech off what they make, and take 40-50% of their income, well, that's a good slave because they're happy slaves. They produce for you. So it makes sense that this concept, it is such a foreign concept to think, okay, how do I get rid of ownership? How do I get rid of money? How do I get rid of, like, I remember listening to some older Indian cultures where they didn't even understand ownership. They were like, how can you own ground? How can you own land? How do you own? The concept was just foreign to them. They didn't understand everything. You would use it when you needed it, and it went back into the community, and nobody owned anything. Now, I think that there is a long history that got just bled out, and it's just like anything else that now, if you talk to people, it's kind of the job's done. It's such a crazy idea to talk about how to live without money. Everybody's like, socialism, no, it'll kill us all, and or communism, and to me, once you've really been in this, because I'm like I said, I'm a hardcore libertarian, guys. There's not a huge difference in real society. Almost every society here is socialist. They are all socialist. Even the U.S. I mean, U.S. is terribly socialist. Like, they're just different degrees of it. And so we already live in this crappy society. So why all the fear around this? Why one of the first things I saw in the chats and in the Discord is it's communism, it's socialism. So why don't one of y'all address that?
Okay, first of all, there's the key difference between communism, socialism, and contributionism. And that's what Ubuntu is. It's contributionism. In a socialist government, the theory is that the people own everything. All of the people own everything, and no individual person is allowed to own anything individually. And that theory goes that you're going to work for the system, and then the system is going to provide you with what you need. Unfortunately, it isn't you that gets to decide what you need. The government decides what you need. And so the government will give to you only that which the government has decided that you need. And the theory is everybody is going to work, and then except that those people that can't work will still get everything they need. And it's there's a phrase, to every man his needs. I don't remember what that expression is. Has to do with socialism, that no matter what a person is capable of accomplishing or doing or working, they're going to receive what they need anyway, but they don't get to decide what their need is for themselves. In communism, the people don't own anything. The government owns everything. And in that system, the government is also the one that determines what it is that you need. And you are I can't see communism as anything but slavery, absolute, outright slavery. You are required to do the work that the government tells you you're going to do. You don't own anything. Government owns everything, and then government gives you what the government has decided you need. In contributionism, you have the right to determine your own needs. You have the right to own your own personal things. You do not own the air. You do not own the water. You do not own the land. You do not own the animals, the wild creatures of the world. All of the people own the land and the air and the water. The earth owns the animals. That's a really different concept right from the get-go. But I think that the most important thing is you are allowed to determine what it is you need for yourself. And you have the right to choose not to contribute if you don't want to. And you can decide, I don't want to be part of this community. I don't want to receive what this community offers me, and I don't want to contribute to this community. And you have that complete right to do that, because every single person is an autonomous human being, and nobody is a slave of the system. Back in the 90s, I learned, there's a fabulous author, his name is Daniel Quinn, and he wrote Ishmael, The Story of Bee, and Call Me Ishmael. I think those are the three main books. And that's where I first learned the concept that if you lock up the food, then the people are slaves. As long as somebody has locked up the food and you must work for him in order to get your food, you are a slave. No two buts about it. No two ways about it. So
I think you guys are describing also something. In our world, it's called voluntarism, and what that means is that right now you're in a system. You're born into this system. And if you like it or not, you're stuck in this system. You don't get to agree to laws. You know, the best they can do is tell you to go to another slave camp. It's like, you don't like this country, go to another one. You know, oh, okay, I get to pick my slave camp. It's like picking your cancer. It's like, oh, well, you know, you get oral or rectal. Which one do you want? Can I just not have cancer? You know, like, is there a better way to do this? And to me, voluntarism is where you get to choose how you want to live. Be that if you want to be complete anarchist, where you decide you want to live in a community where you don't do anything, and you don't need government, you want to take that risky lifestyle, do it. If you want a small communal, like what you guys are talking about, you get to voluntarily do it. You're not forcing anyone into this lifestyle. You know, this is something that people want to do on their own and voluntarily go in. And if you're talking about a voluntary system, you know, I can get behind that. Now, maybe it's not exactly how I'd want it, but I do like the concept of, you know, trying to work with as little money as possible until it goes away. You know, there's a lot of people out there that, if you look at the prepper movement or the survivalists, that they want to be as self-sufficient as possible. And then there's some people that realize, you know, it's a lot better to be in a community that is self-sufficient and not a lone man on an island. You know, you can do a lot more as a community. And you know, these concepts are scary to people because they've never heard these things. But if they sit and think about it, they're trying to hold on to this busted, broken up system because they don't know anything else. They're scared of trying something or evolving, and it's not going to be everybody's forte. They're going to get this too weird for some people. But to me, there's a lot of truth in what you're saying.
I think you make a good point.
Then go ahead, Rebecca. You take the
I think you make a good point about the fear. When we don't know what something is going to be like, we sort of make up stories of, well, this has already been tried. This is, you know, all of the things that we do when we don't know. And I know that for myself, I know that where we are right now, what we're living right now all across the planet is broken, seriously damaged. I mean, to have the income disparity that we have, where we have people who are living in this country who are living on like no dollars a day, and then the wealthy living on, I mean, the income disparity is just unbelievable. When you look at those charts, it just is horrendous. And to believe the stories or the presentation of, well, if you work hard and stick to it, you will succeed and you will be successful. And that I know I am somebody who works very, very hard, and I am skilled at a lot of different things, and I still am barely making it. And I work at enormous numbers of hours. And so I'm like, I have decided I want to work enormous numbers of hours in something that could be creating something totally different. It might not, but I have nothing to lose because the current system that I'm living in is broken. And so from my perspective, there's no reason to hang on to something that is shattered, really shattered.
How much worse can it get, guys? I mean, when you get to the point where you throw up your hands in the air and say, okay, I've had enough, there's got to be a better way, and I'm willing to put some risk out and try it. And that's what these people are saying, you know, that they just want to try a system and see if it works. What's the big problem? Why are people so hostile to this? Go ahead.
How much worse it could get is total collapse. We could have total and complete collapse.
I don't think that'll be necessarily worse. This government.
Well, I have to agree with that.
I'm happy to see it go. I'm not.
But okay. So what happens here? The Ubuntu movement is a little bit different than just having the philosophy of no money, because we have a system. We, Rebecca talked a little bit about 3 times 3. We have, you create 3 times as much as you need, you sell 2/3, you have 1/3 of the community. The money that is earned for that goes into these 3 parts. It's a system that is in place and has a plan that people can actually follow. So here I'm sitting, educating people about Ubuntu, and wanting very, very much to find a community that will actually turn 100% into an Ubuntu community. Let's suppose I don't manage to do it. I don't manage to find that community, but let's suppose that I teach 1,000 people about the system. I teach 1,000 people over a course of time how to do thirds, how to create the communal, how to create the contributionism concept, and then the whole thing collapses. I mean, the whole thing, that what we've got now, the system that is broken, goes down completely. Well, there are 1,000 people out there that know how to fix it. There are 1,000 people that know how to set up a system that can make it work. So I see not only the Ubuntu possibility of finding and creating it to happen now in the middle of this incredibly chaotic, collapsing system that's going on, but also the education is happening to teach people how to create community again once what we have totally falls down.
Right. I'm with you on this, because if you're petrified of fear that this community's, everybody knows this government's going to collapse and the dollar's collapse. They just can't. You can't just print money out of thin air and it's going to run forever. Every government collapses. So it's going to happen eventually. The deal is, though, is would you rather be living near a community of people that are trying to work together in a peaceful way when it goes down, or are you going to be living in a subdivision where everybody's going to be scrambling, trying to figure out, well, now how do we work together? I think I'd rather be the first in on the other side, where I'm already working with a community that is trying to be self-sufficient and trying to run without money. I mean, it's pretty cool to me.
Well, and the fear factor, if we collapse and we don't have some idea of how to rebuild ourselves, there will be immense starvation, immense competition for the resources that when they're not managed, so we all start hoarding to make sure we have enough water, enough food, all of those things, and to be able to transition into a world without having to fight each other for resources, instead cooperate with each other and collaborate with each other is my choice. I would much prefer that.
Let me add a little bit to this, because I don't think people really think this through. Right now, you're losing somewhere between 40 to 50% of your money on taxes, more in socialist countries, heavier socialist countries. Imagine tomorrow, the government goes crazy, but and things get disrupted, but all of a sudden you don't have to pay personal property taxes anymore. You don't have to pay taxes anymore. You don't have to have all this money funneled out of every paycheck. What do you think happens to your work ability, where you're still in a community, you're still doing the same amount of work, and now you get to keep everything? You're gonna be like, well, maybe the government wasn't as great as I thought. Look how much more I can get for my money because it's not being siphoned off. And then eventually you'll get to a point where you don't need money. If you're talking about creating, I get what you're saying. If you're talking about creating a thing where there's always an abundance, that you have this extra third that you can give away to people that need it, or sell it at really low prices, or however you evolve into without money. I think if enough people started giving abundance like that, that the crime in the transition would be very little. If everybody had enough food and water, that their neighbors were like, oh man, we already have this community built up, we have plenty of food, take what you need. You really think that there's going to be crazy crime?
No, and
Probably
that really,
not.
yeah, right. I actually think
this is in place and prepared where there's tons of abundance, people aren't going to freak out and shoot their neighbors. They're going to be like, oh, okay, well, show me how you're doing this. I guess we need to do this now because the government's gone.
That's right. That's right.
So to me, that's kind of a logical evolution, instead of just like panic of running through the streets and preparing for zombie apocalypse. There are other ways to do this. It doesn't have, I preach on my channel constantly, let's not live in fear. Let's not live a life based on fear of, oh man, we can't try anything new because what if? You know, that's a horrible way to live. Stop it. All right, go ahead. I'm off my soapbox.
Okay. I'm seeing your mouth still moving. We must be out of sync.
Yeah. If you're watching the YouTube, it's like 10 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. So there's another thing going on, and this gets back into the concept of what in the world is happening with the Mandela effect and with the raising of the consciousness level of humanity. One of the things that's happening is a concept called secrets revealed. It seems to be impossible for well, I'm going to just say for the bad guys to keep secrets about what they are doing. More and more people are discovering what the powers that be are really up to. And when something goes wrong, like a false flag, and it takes about 30 seconds for somebody online to say, that's a false flag and this is why. And people are starting to see this. Well, one of the things that is starting to be revealed to the mass of humans is the concept of psychopathic and sociopathic and narcissistic and Machiavellian and what this borderline personality disorder, whatever they're calling the various aspects of the kind of a brain that cannot make a connection with others, whether it's humans or plants or animals, it doesn't make any difference. They cannot make a connection outside of themselves and feel empathy or compassion or any kind of feeling coming back to them from other people or animals or plants or any part of the earth. We have not had an awareness of the fact that this kind of brain exists on this planet. As a result of not being aware of it, we have a society, a worldwide society, where there are estimates that higher than 50% of all elected positions are manned by sociopath psychopaths. So we have essentially our rulers have no compassion, no empathy, no remorse, no conscience, no connection to other humans. And that's the state of being right now. We are in the process of collapse, and one of the things that is happening, because at the same time our system is collapsing, our consciousness is being raised higher, and it's impossible for that because one of the realities is that along with the lack of compassion and empathy and remorse, etc., for some reason comes a charismatic personality that gets them elected very easily. It's not happening anymore. It's not working. And I could go into recent political events to illustrate this, but it would probably be better to just leave that with me. But what I'm trying to say is that you're talking about, what about the person that wants to be violent, that wants to create discord and disharmony, wants to be in the community in a negative way? And what I'm trying to get across on this whole thing, is that if that person can do those things without being detected, without being found out, it's so much easier for the entire system to go completely crash all the way. But because it's being so difficult for them to keep secrets anymore, because people are becoming aware of the fact that a very, very small minority, the estimate is 5% of our population, has that disconnection from other humans, because they're aware of it, it's far more likely that as we move into the Ubuntu style contributionism, voluntarism societies, the people that do not have the empathy, the compassion, the remorse, the feelings of connection with others, it's very, very likely they will not be able to be in charge, in control. And they will therefore be far more controllable. Did you follow that at all?
So go ahead, Rebecca.
So I wanted to actually bring in here, as we start talking about control and government, in an Ubuntu community, the government actually doesn't really exist. It's not a hierarchical thing. It's the community manages itself. There is when there are issues that need to be mitigated or resolved or whatever, there is a council of elders of 13 people, and those 13 people are elected. So I guess you could call them government, but they're not there as rule makers. They are there as mediators or community guardians. They're guarding the higher level, the higher interest of the community at large. And there are some premises that come along with the Ubuntu system, and one of the really important ones is that everybody is included, and decisions are not made that actually harm any particular person or group of people in the community. And so, the other piece that's very important about those 13 elders is that they are elected by the whole community through an open vote. And I'm not even sure, whatever the opposite of anonymous vote is, where it's transparent, it's open, it's public. And the reason for doing that is so that if I'm one of those brains that Shaylee was just talking about, and I've figured out, well, if I get John and Mark and Mary and Shaylee to vote for me in secret, then I'll be in charge. But if their character is known in the community, and again, we're talking about fairly small communities, somewhere between 3,000 and 7,000 people, so people know each other. They know each other from the works that they do, from, you know, are they reliable? Are they honest? Are they, you know, all of those things show up in small communities, which is one of the things that we talk about in a small town, boy, rumors fly like, you know, the grapevine is very, very fast in a small community. So if it's an open election and transparent election, if I'm voting for John, who's a known con man, the rest of the community is going to say, why are you voting for him? Why are you doing that? Well, I'm doing that because he promised me a job on the council if I work that. And then again, if you take money out of this picture, then that's not even that, you're not even motivated by that kind of stuff anyway. But so just as another piece to add in there, the government, all of the issues that we currently have with government overseeing us and dictating how we have to be goes away in an Ubuntu community because it's not run like a typical town. We don't have a mayor, we don't have a city council, we don't have those things.
Right. I get what you're saying. They're kind of like, oh gosh, you don't even want to call them like elected officials because that has such a negative connotation. But when you're going to organize a group, it does help to have some group leaders that are put in charge. But I think what this comes down to, though, is these are small communities. And if you get into a community where you don't like the leaders, don't participate. Check out of the community and leave. It's voluntary. It's not like here where you're stuck, right? I mean, if they don't like it, they can go to another community, go form their own community, go do their thing. I have a problem when it is involuntary, when you're stuck in a community and you have nothing to say about it. And I think there's also a history of this because there has been a long time of communities that work together and then there'll be 2 or 3 people that don't like the way it's done, and they'll just say, no, I'm not doing it anymore. And what happens is that community just ostracizes them. They say, well, you know what? You're not going to buy anything from us. You're not going to, or sorry, not, well, I guess what you guys don't buy, but you're not going to get any of our food. You're not going to get any of our health care. You're not going to get all these great things we do. Good luck to you. And eventually those people find it's really hard to live in a community that doesn't support them, and they move away. They move to more like-minded people. So this is something I think that we have to understand, that there's no such thing as, and where governments really go wrong is trying to make one law for everybody. Everybody has to live under these sets of laws because I want something some way, Someone else wants something some way. Someone says, you know, I want to go live in a Christian community where religious law. And then you have an anarchist that's like, no way, man, I don't want any laws. Nobody telling me what to do. Just leave me alone. You know, and there's something in between. And the problem we have now is nobody gets what they want because everything's watered down and everybody's miserable. If you ask anyone, you know, how great is the government? What's your favorite part of the government? They're going to say, yeah, tell me what
the
your
mail.
favorite part of the
I like
government
getting my
is.
mail.
Yeah, my mail. But you know, we could do all that privately. None of that stuff's necessary, and
That's
the
right.
private companies
That's right.
would do a better job. So here's what I'm trying to get across. As long as you guys continue to keep a voluntary system where you can come in, and if you do not like, you don't want to work under that group of elders, then leave and go to another group or start your own or whatever. You're never going to get along with everybody perfectly, but hopefully you can find a group that you dig. And that's my understanding what you're trying to say, right?
No one is required to stay anywhere that they don't. No one's even required to be participating in the community projects. It's just that if you don't contribute, then you don't get the benefits. And there's not even any like judgment about that. There's no like, oh, we're going to ostracize you because you're not participating. It's like, no, you still are choosing to use money, and you, good luck. Go work in the coal mine. Go work, you know, wherever.
Go back to the old life, man.
Right. Yeah.
You know, right. That's the problem. Is this community, the Mandela Effect community that I hang out with, is almost all empaths. We're all empaths, and sometimes that's really hard because it can be tough dealing with a group of over emotional people. But on the flip side, they're wonderful and loving people. And I would want to live with a group of empaths. I wouldn't want to live with sociopaths and people that, like you said, that just have this no empathy like that they do now. That I'm living under some sort of local government where these people wouldn't think twice about taking my property. These people wouldn't think twice about kicking me out if I didn't play ball or wasn't one of the good old boys, you know? Mm-hmm. Or if you make them mad, they'll use the government against you. And that's, you know, that's the sad fact is government is force. And you're always going to give force to one person and telling other people to do something. When you remove that concept where it's voluntary, okay, I'm going to say I like these 13 old people that have been around a long time. They know stuff. They're wise. I'll give it a shot. And if I agree with what they're saying, I'll do it. If I don't, I just check out. And you know what? I don't get the benefits anymore. Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. There you go. I'm understanding you. Okay. See, I think there's a lot of fear behind this because people think that they have to do this. And it's like, no, man, this is voluntary.
No. In fact, it would be a very, very, very long time before there would even be a thing of, well, if you don't like to be in the community, leave. No, if somebody owns a house in a community and the community all around them is participating in Ubuntu and they choose not to, they don't have to leave their house. Mm-hmm. That's their house. It's going to be a long, long time before somebody couldn't find a non-Ubuntu place to live or to be just where they are without being part of it.
I'm sure there's going to be people that want to hang on to what they know and hang on to the old world because it's familiar. But we are evolving, and it's going to happen where you're going to look and be like, man, why am I going to work 50 hours a week and not getting what I want? And these people over here are working like 20 hours a week and have everything they want. You know,
that's right.
You're going to make a better model that they're just going to naturally want to come over to.
Yep.
That's it. That's the way.
So the point is to be.
Sorry, go ahead. No,
Rebecca.
I am bouncing sort of back and forth between the chat just because I'm glad enjoying seeing what's
you're reading the chat there. That's good.
Yeah, and somebody just asked the question is, does the community help the person who doesn't want to stay leave? And what I actually want to say about that is from the perspective of genuine helping. So what I'm experiencing in the Walsenburg, what we are experiencing in the Walsenburg area is that that area is very depressed financially, and so there are already a lot of housing and things like that. And there are going to be people who are not excited about the concept of true community or Ubuntu community coming there. But so as that community builds with the Ubuntu model, there will be people who are like, no, I don't want to live here. I need to sell my house. And there are a lot of people who are very interested in living in a community like that. So absolutely, there'll be somebody who comes and says, I want to buy your house. That I want to live in this community. And so we're still living in this quote unquote free United States, and you can travel wherever you want. You can sell your stuff. We currently are still very much engaged in the financial world. And so houses will still sell. People will still be buying them. Myself, as a true passionate Ubuntu contributionism member of an Ubuntu, no, I'm not there is no Ubuntu society yet, but I'm working on making that happen. I take the money that I've worked, 100 hours a week for the last 5 years to earn, and I go and buy that house, and I mortgage it with the bank. What I'm working on as the national coordinator is coming up with a local Ubuntu bank for Walsenburg, and hopefully for every community that starts, so that the money actually stays in the community, because that is a transitionary step, that you keep the money that is here in the town, which is why alternative currencies are an option for some people. I don't feel like that's worth going to, because if you're going to use money, you might as well use the money we have, but start keeping it local, keeping it in the
I understand there's transitions. Like, this is what people are not understanding in the chat, is they're like, well, we're talking about money, and I get it that, we're living in a society where the government still owns the property. Try not to pay your property taxes and men with guns show up and throw you out and take it. So there's going to be a point where you have to pay your property tax to live there. You still own your land because that's the government here. But when eventually this government's going to collapse and go bye-bye, and when that happens, there's going to be an opportunity for all this to flourish. And I think that's what will have to happen in order. But I understand there's going to be this weird, awkward transition phase where you're going to minimize having to live with money as much as you can, but there's probably going to still be some stuff you have to do. And I keep seeing people saying, well, why are they against barter? And I don't think you guys are against barter. I think your point is that if everything is so abundant that you can get whatever you need, you don't need to barter.
Well, there is,
right?
So to go to that, so there's sort of these five mantras: no barter, no money, no barter, no trade. And basically there's no value assigned to any person or thing. And the reason for that is because when you're bartering and trading, if I have, especially in services, if I am a doctor, and I've spent X number of dollars going to school, and I have X number of years in school, and there's sort of an ego that comes along with having the title of doctor or whatever. And so then I feel like my time, my abilities are worth more than the person who picks up the garbage, who's a garbage collector. And so I keep getting I'm at my mother's house, and she keeps giving me these notes of what I should be bringing up. So I'll have to read those in a minute. But
everybody has a mom that does that. It's okay. We get it.
She has high-speed internet, so that's why I'm here tonight. But in any case,
I love moms.
So
okay.
that is the drawback to barter and trade and money, is that it's a value system. And so as soon as you put on a value of something, that this is worth more than that. My horse is worth more than your goat, so you're going to have to give me 2 goats for my horse. Any of that stuff, that somebody's deciding what things are worth, and that value creates separation, division, contention, all the things that we're trying to move away from. And so that is the drawback to barter. And one could say that, well, you could use it in a transitionary phase, but there's no reason to. We can use the current system of money in our transitionary phase, and you use business to create huge abundance for an Ubuntu town, and the huge abundance comes from the money that is the products that you sell, or the services that you sell outside of the community. within the community. Again, we're not selling to each other, we're not bartering with each other, we're not trading with each other. We just receive everything that the community produces because we are participating, we're contributing into the community.
So you think if we go down that road, as far as barter trading, assigning values to things, it opens the door of all these negative other things that come with it.
I don't think that
division of you know, being resentful and greedy and all that stuff.
We don't change the system enough, right? You're continuing the same kind of system. Right?
Yeah, you're substituting barter instead of money.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's
There's
true.
also
Sorry, go ahead, Shaylia. I'm sorry.
okay. There's also the aspect of value. Everybody has 24 hours a day. Everybody has an equal number of hours to be and to contribute. I would like to see what would happen to a community that didn't have any garbage collectors. You know, the doctor would be pretty damn busy trying to keep everybody alive because they would be living in such complete filth if they didn't have the garbage collector. The garbage collector should be, it's a miserable, lousy, awful, horrible job. So we value that person less because he's willing to do that miserable, awful, horrible job. And yet the person that lives over here in this mansion, because he's spent 12 years learning, you know, and being in school, and therefore he has more value than the person who is doing the miserable, awful job in order to keep the rest of us in healthy, clean, safe environment. You think about it for a minute. How much value does the garbage collector give to the community?
And I think so. I am going to bring the notes that my mother has given me. Both of them have to do with the garbage collectors are not interested in collecting garbage. You know, they don't want to spend 8 hours a day. There's nobody that wants to spend their life collecting garbage, and recognizing that. So, which is why there are going to be certain roles that just get assigned for 3 hours per week. So we figure out how many hours it takes for that community to have its trash collected, and you figure that out, and you say, okay, that particular task requires whatever it is, 40 hours a week, whatever, and so then you divide that amongst all of the contributors, and that job gets divided so that there's nobody who is having to spend all of their life and time collecting garbage, and the time that the rest of their time for all of us, each one of us gets to spend time, and for some of us, and this is true for me, figuring out what it is that I do love. What am I passionate about? I work so much trying to make money so that I can pay for my rent and pay for my groceries and all of the things that I have to pay my taxes, you know, pay the gas, pay the insurance, pay all of those things that I have to pay. That for me to think about what I actually would really like to do if I didn't have to do all of those things, I get frantic. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything to do now. What, you know, and that's not okay. That's not okay that that's true for me. And I'm not. I know that I'm not the only one that's true for.
Can I take this in a little different direction, because I'm hearing what you're saying, but haven't we got to a point that if we got the government out enough and got regulations out of the way, that couldn't we solve a lot of this with technology now? I mean, we're to the point where we could build robots in probably 5 years and never have to have a trash can.
Absolutely.
We can automate a lot of this stuff that nobody wants to do. And well, so, I mean, can't we use technology to solve a lot of these problems?
Big part of Ubuntu is technology. Big part. So that brings another fear that people have, though. So if you don't have the job, so already people are afraid of automation. It's like, well, then what am I going to do to make money? It's like, well, what if you didn't need to make money, right?
Yeah.
So
what if you have everything you needed? Then why are we having this conversation, right?
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So but a huge part of the Ubuntu model is the fact that technology can definitely, if it's not restricted because of the financial piece of things, then absolutely, we can have automatic trash picker uppers, automatic anything that we don't want to do. We can create a robot for it, or create automation for it, and certainly, you know, the jobs like coal mining, all of those kinds of the dangerous jobs that people do.
And honestly, if we got government out of the way, we wouldn't need them. I've made stories about this. Guys, you don't realize that we're getting to the point where a 3D printer can make another 3D printer. When that happens, society is going to massively change. When I can hand out basically Star Trek replicators to my friends where they can make damn near anything electronic they want out for pennies, and you can make, you know what, hey, let's print up some solar panels, let's print up some batteries, let's print up whatever we need for power. All of a sudden, when that happens, and the technology's almost there,
right? Yep.
Things are going to change when I can just show up at someone's house with a 3D printer and be like, okay, let's give you a free power system. Boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Okay, you know,
yep.
and we're gonna share this in the community, and you can have I mean, the idea of we're still thinking like old ways instead of saying, man, there's so many great technologies that can solve a lot of these problems that people are having issues with.
That's right. Yep.
You know, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I'm just throwing it out there because I've been talking about that forever, that society is going to drastically change as soon as 3D printers can make 3D printers and we can hand them out like candy.
Well, and as soon as we don't have limitation, as soon as we don't have government, or more specifically corporations saying, no, you can't spend money on that. The level of creative intelligence that exists on this planet is unbelievable, but it's squashed regularly, because it's not in the interest of the people who control the money. It's not in their interest for us to have free energy, which that's been invented multiple times but been squashed and hidden away, or people like Tesla just sort of put out of business altogether. Again, the level of intelligence on this planet is huge, and it's not capitalized on, to use a current word, because it's not in the interest of the money. It's only in the interest of people. And so when we start working from the perspective of what is going to benefit us as a whole, and actually I do want to be sure that we put in here that Ubuntu is not only about benefiting the people. The earth herself, the animals, the environment, all of that matters. All of that makes a difference. You know, one of the drawbacks to the concept of technology is this thinking that we have, that we can strip mine the whole planet so that we can get the metals out of her so that we can make our technology. And what will happen as these incredibly intelligent brains are activated, because we don't have money shutting us down anymore, we will find ways that the technology will leap incredibly, as you've already stated, but in really positive ways for the earth as well as for humans.
Got it. And I agree that I think that's a really interesting concept, that I just for us to just kind of we're using the same thinking that got us into these problems, instead of saying, you know, maybe there's a whole different way that we haven't even thought about. You know, nobody wants to be the garbage man. Why can't we just get rid of the garbage man? You know, let's robot this thing out. And
right.
and I think I think there's a neat ideas to do that. And this isn't strictly either some sort of Ubuntu idea. There's a lot of people that have thought, you know, maybe if government would get out of the way, we could actually solve a lot of these problems. But again, you have people freak out because their jobs are at risk.
Right, that's right.
But then that goes back to, what do you really want to be a garbage man for if you don't have to be? You can do what you really want to do. Right. You know, if there's abundancy. So this is pretty interesting. We're being joined by Ernest Hancock. He is muted though. Ernest, you got to unmute on Hangout. You're muted in Hangout. It's at the very top of the screen. Try to unmute that out. And
there we go. Is that it?
Yeah, we got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry you had so many problems getting in. And Melanie, if you're listening, I sent you a link like 20 minutes ago, so I don't know where you're at. Okay, Ernest. If you guys don't know Ernest Hancock, he has a national radio show for the last 10 years. Good friend of mine, knows a lot about this, not necessarily this topic, but there's been a lot of libertarians that have tried to do this, that have set up their own communities and tried to, make these things work and all these ideas. Because I think we all agree that the current system stinks, and I don't really want to support it anymore. I'm willing to try some stuff. So, Ernest, what do you think about this idea? Is there a way we could get rid of money? Give me your thoughts on this.
Well, it's kind of broad. The main thing is that I've been advocating. I have a domain just sitting there waiting for me to use. It's called leavemealonezone.com. So I'm just when I got me a leave me alone zone, I'm all in. I got the website. So what happened is there's a lot of people that realize what the real problem is. They're just not being left alone. And there are those that just want to be left alone, and there are those that just won't leave them alone, and you just got to figure out which one you are and which one you advocate for and which way you'd like to live your life and so on. So what we've done is we highlight a lot of the solutions. We got a lot of different ways that we do that, but it's, how do you take care of your communication, your energy and your privacy and your food and water and education and transportation and automation and, health. I mean, it's just so, and you offer solutions without being, just like you're selling everything. I mean, it's just, here are people doing this kind of stuff and the new technologies and material that's available. And it's just amazing what the high quality of life with the materials and the cheapness of them now, that Lone Prairie living, the Ingalls, man, they've been styling pretty hard about now. So I'm feeling very comfortable that we can live a comfortable life given the technology and methods that we have now. It's the property, it's the government, it's where you reside. We know where you're at. We got an address, and you owe us for something, and oh yeah, and your kids got to go fight some war somewhere. So it's a philosophical, cultural thing that we're working on. It's just you got to inspire people with examples, and if you can do that, then people go, yeah, I can do that. And that's what I think. They, them, those won't leave us alone, and Washington and every other house of we rule you, is that they don't want us to realize that there is so much capability that as even individuals have, and certainly groups, families, extended families, villages, and they're trying to homogenize us into the automatons for the state. And it's not the way humans were meant to live. And it wasn't the promise that this country was founded on. Private property rights. I get to keep what's mine, do whatever the hell I want with what's mine, and trade with anything I want that's mine, so that everything else falls underneath that, including currencies, property rights, living arrangements, everything.
Well, Ernest, you lived through the period of, I think you did, where there was a lot of the hippies that dropped out and tried to make communes where they were doing these commune things.
Yeah, I'm not quite
did
that
it bother
old.
you when that happened? Or?
I'm not quite that old. I graduated high school in '79, and but I did know a lot of older brothers of friends, and a lot of friends you come into the workforce, and they're 10 years older than you, and they explain to you, well, boy, let me tell you how it really is, that kind of thing. And so I did get to meet a lot of people in that counterculture then, and even now. I mean, we have people in the Levolution that were in that mindset, and they're like, well, we should have, we should do a commune. So we could all we're like-minded. We'll get together, and it'll be awesome. And Ernie will even let you talk at the campfire every day or something, right? And I'm going, yeah, like you want to give me a microphone. So I go, I just need to know what you're going to think of my sons riding their motorcycle through compound. What's your kids like? How extended a family you're bringing in for how long on Thanksgiving and Easter and who decides these things? So my question was, I have a few questions, and one of them is, what do I have to do? And what am I prevented from doing? And what's your conflict resolution? So if they say, you can't obviously do a lot of the stuff that I might want to do, okay, I don't want to go there. You have to do and participate and that maybe under what conditions, and maybe I don't, and then what? And then if there's a misunderstanding, how do they come to a conclusion, without people shooting each other? And oftentimes it goes like this. There was the one guy There was that. Yeah, I go, how come it didn't work? What happened during your commune experience in the 60s and 70s and so on? Well, there was this one guy. Well, my opinion is there's always that one guy. Deal with the one guy. So that's what you got to kind of address, and you can look through history and how, you know, Vikings and pirates, you know, they dealt with the one guy. So it's not that it's impossible. It's just that a private, voluntary solution among adults is always preferable to a centralized, remote government, you know, that doesn't have any investment in the local whatever it is. So I'm always for individual freedom, self-responsibility, and ultimate liability down to the individual. You don't get to delegate authority or delegate responsibility or somebody else go beat them up because I want you to. You know, if you get it down to the individual, all these problems just evaporate.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have necessarily an issue with this as long as it was voluntary, right? You didn't have to join.
I was trying to connect and doing all this stuff, so I missed, you know, a lot of it. I get the understanding that there's a certain type of a community that they're wanting to, that you think dovetails in the voluntarist philosophy enough that we can all be buddies.
Well, it's sort of what I kind of let them explain it because I don't want to rehash the first whole hour of the show, but basically their idea is they can get to a point where money's not needed because they have so much abundance that they make a community where people voluntarily come in and they contribute a third of what they do to overabundance. And the idea is to sign up for, I guess, work shifts, sign up to do what you want, and then and there's a certain, you know, like work 15 hours a week at what you want to do, and then 3 hours a week for communal stuff that needs to be done.
Well, I think they should have the freedom to do whatever the heck they want, and I don't get to tell them how to do it or what to do. Or see, if there's not this diversity, because different people have different personalities, they have different talents, they got different, you know, ways of going, different contacts, different tools available to them. So somebody that really knows something about something and has got the shovel for it, peace out. You know, you're the head guy in charge. So the freedom to be able to do that is what's important. Libertarianism is about, you know, advocating for freedom and to get it. What you do with it is an individual decision. See, everybody wants to give you the freedom to do what they want you to do. Well, with freedom, you should this and that and so on. I'm like, I want the freedom to be able to do what I want to do. And if you have everybody doing that, people will go where they're best treated. They go where they think they're the most productive. They go where their personality fits the kind of governance that they want. But the second you get coercion involved, or somebody can't leave, you know, or you got to work for whatever, a bunch of mandates that you kind of, you know, not comfortable with, you know, things happen. And I like having the diversity, but it's not what you do with your freedom. It's the fact that you have the freedom to do it.
Thank you for that. I want to welcome our other guest, Melanie, who helped set this all up. And Mel, I'm sorry you had some problems connecting there. I hope you're all set up now. Are you there? I think she's still having problems. Mel, when you come back on, you're welcome to jump in. It's showing you muted out there. All right, ladies, what do you guys think as far as the what Ernest said? If you want to say anything on top of that, or if you want to well,
the three questions, you know, what do I have to do, what can I do, what's the conflict resolution?
All right, let's talk about that. If in the Ubuntu societies that are, I assume, because we haven't really got into this, is there a set of rules already developed that each community must follow, or is it one of these things that the community creates its own set of rules?
Community creates its own set of rules. I mean, there's an outline, right? There's a blueprint. There are some things like no barter, no money, no trade. Those five concepts. Nothing is has value above anything else, and that basically the community is the most important thing. Those are the five things. And so if you can't put the community above your own needs, if your needs are that I want to be able to ride my motorcycle any time of day, and I don't care that it's waking up the whole neighborhood, I don't care that my motorcycle smokes up the, you know, whatever, if I don't care about anybody else, I just want to do what I want to do, then an Ubuntu community is not going to be for you, because what is a prime directive, to use Star Trek language, is that the community is what we are all working for. That we recognize that when the community is thriving, each one of us as an individual is thriving. And so if I'm living in that kind of community, then I want to make sure that what I want to do isn't going to hurt you or your family in some kind of a way. And if I am a person who wants to make sure that I can do what I want to do, it doesn't matter how it affects anybody else, then I already know that Ubuntu is not for me.
Okay, so that's just to repeat though. There's kind of some national guidelines they'd like to set up, and then the communities figure out their own guidelines on how to handle everything else.
Those five things that I just listed are the five.
That's it.
Right.
Okay.
And then everything else, it has to come from the community, because the community knows itself. We at the national level, we don't know what needs to happen in that town. So if I want to be in a community where everybody's vegetarian or vegan or whatever, I can go and create that, and we decide what's important, and we say, okay, in this particular, okay.
Can I ask a question, please?
Do it.
Yeah.
You know, when you say no exchange of value, no bartering, no anything, how do you get anything you want? I mean, if I want something, it's always like when we talk to the Venus Project, the way they would answer, things that need to be done will be done, and smart people will tell them what needs to be done. And I go, who makes the toilet paper? Do I get toilet paper? I mean, I just want to know, how toilet paper is coming in the process here. Somebody assigned that? Does somebody want to do that? I mean, so when you have a society that needs to, people need to be not too hot, not too cold, not too thirsty, not too hungry, not too something, and they'll decide, I need, warmer air. I need, how is that allocated, that task? Who decides, and who complains to whom? Well,
I mean, you decide. You say, you know what? It would be really great if we had toilet paper. And since we don't have a toilet paper factory in this particular town, and we've asked the neighboring town who does have a factory if they would like to participate in our stuff, we either go buy it from that factory, or we create our own factory and we start creating. So the town decides, or the community decides, what is it we need. So you go to the community.
So the community participates in the market, but individuals don't. They just kind of inside the community. You're not. You buy what the community needs, not what the individuals need.
Well, the individuals are the community. I mean, so.
I'm just wondering how you determine or distribute or allocate it.
Well, so you still are an individual, so you can say, you know what, I want to have a toilet paper factory, and so you go to the community, and you say, it'd be really great to have a toilet paper factory. And if the community says no, we're not going to allocate our funds that way, you have your own funds because of what the community brings in. So you can say, well, I really want this, so I'm going to create a factory anyway, and I'm going to do that with the funds that I have from all of the other community projects that we're doing. I mean, of course we're talking about right now, which is transitionary time, which is going to be different than what it is when it actually when the world is. Oh no,
there's going to come a lot of creative ideas that a lot of people are going to try. They did.
Yeah, we got a 3D print toilet paper, dude.
Well, use the 3 shells. I mean, we're
going to use bidets. Print a bidet, and you're good to go.
There you go.
I did want to introduce Melanie. She's been trying to get on for the last half hour, and it keeps crashing. Mel, are you there now? Or are you all straightened out?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good. I'm sorry.
Brilliant.
I don't know why I was having such a hard time getting you, but I want you to go ahead and chime in with your 2 cents, and then we're going to let them get back to what they're talking about here. I know you've been waiting. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on tonight. I've had technical issues. Yes, I mean, I'd just like to say that Ubuntu is an answer. It's a way out of our current system. I mean, we all know in this community that there are major issues with the current system, with all current systems. We all know it's unfair. We all know that we're subjugated. We all understand that. And this is a way out. But not only is it somebody saying, I think we should live like this, but it's somebody saying, this is how humanity used to live. And it can still be done that today. We can still live like that today. And this is a plan of how to go from here to there. So that's what gets me so excited about it, because there is a staged transitional stages all planned out as a model to follow, as a framework to follow. And obviously there'll be variations around the world.
I apologize. Where's there? When you say get from here to there, I'm just wondering what the ultimate goal is.
To full Ubuntu, to a point where everybody is living according to that basic philosophy. You know, once everybody is Ubuntu, or everybody you trade with or communicate with is Ubuntu, then everything is exchanged. Everything you produce is for your community and all neighboring communities that need it, and vice versa. So that is there.
I'm wondering,
wait, Ernest, for a sec. I think you missed a piece of the program in the beginning. Basically, the idea was to create so much abundance with this stuff that people don't really have needs anymore. They can get what they need.
No, I understand.
Okay.
It's just
I didn't know if you caught that
our
piece.
capacity is amazing. Automation is going to make, Trump is all about going to bring back the jobs. And I'm going, can I just own a couple of robots? I was just wondering. So this is, they're going to give them rights and start taxing them. Oh, they're having a robot tax in Europe. This is awesome. So anyway, for labor. So I'm just, with this, I read the book Abundance by Peter Diamandis, a couple of years ago, and he was making this very point. And we work on our pirateswithoutborders.com is all about the technology that's going to provide the abundance that you're exactly talking about. We have the technology in different categories there espousing exactly this. The thing that I'm asking, though, is that you have a lot of people, and I bring up, the toilet paper factory because I'd prefer to have toilet paper, but, why would somebody do that? There's usually a market signal, there's a price or a profit motive or something. And I'm just wondering, how, if you need something, somebody's going to determine that. And then they're going to assign somebody to do it or find somebody that wants to do it. And if they don't, they'll something. And there's, so I'm looking for the price discovery. And there's got to be some either moral component to it that people are, they've done this with the religious sects that are very giving. And then you had the pilgrims, come in, and that didn't work out so well. So they went more free market and got to keep and have more abundance. So let's say if the goal is the abundance, does the method getting it matter?
Well, from my perspective, abundance is one of those sort of trigger words. For some people, abundance means money. And for others, abundance means peace, or, so one of the things that I think that we recognize at this point in our evolutionary process and in our governments and whatever is that we have been told that we need a lot, we need everything, we need stuff. And so and we have been told that so that we'll buy stuff, so that people can market to us, so that some of the questions that you're presenting here, or the position that you're presenting, is from a bit of that position of wanting more stuff. Well, I want a Maserati, or I want, a 10,000 square foot home, or, whatever it is. I think that part of what is happening through our consciousness shifting and elevating is that we're recognizing that we actually don't need all of this stuff that we've been told that we should want. And so, which is part of why the tiny house concept is like on this huge craze. People are like, oh, I'm going to get a tiny house, and I'm like, okay, I'm not that big on a tiny house. I would like to have enough space to sort of lie down and that kind of stuff. But that particular piece of being told that we need more stuff, that there's a market, that market driving production of something.
See, that's the point that I'm trying to make, is there is a market for what you're advocating. There's a free market demand for leave me aloneism. I need a smaller house. I don't want to have the bills. I don't want to have the taxes. I want to be able to be mobile. I want to be able to be with friends, you know, and then we live in this part of the country during this year, and then we have, you know, half of those friends and a new group of friends in another part of the country the other part of the year, and we can do this because we can. I'm all with it. In fact, we make geodesic domes. I have a big stamp press. You know, Adam Kokesh, Taryn, was here today, you know, punching out another dome or a bunch of pieces for it. And this is something that we've done, and we do our own aquaponics. We have our chickens. I mean, that's why Taryn would, you know, ask me to participate in something like this. And my thing is that I agree with everything that you're talking about, but it doesn't need to be anything other than the freedom for you to be able to do it. There's always some agent with a clipboard and telling you how you can't live. And I'm going, I'm advocating for the freedom for you to do exactly what it is that you're doing. And I might want to participate or come by or say hello or help or something, which I do for a lot of things like this. Matter of fact, they're doing the domes for a ranch.
Yeah. Let Melanie jump in here for a sec. Mel, go ahead and take this out.
Yeah. Ubuntu is about freedom. It's about people having the freedom to do what makes them happy, unless what they want to do is going to harm others, and that means the community as well. So yes, at the moment you've got greedy people who want massive mansions. They want more than everybody else, but that's because we are raised within a system that values that many people feel that the more stuff they have, the more respect they have, which is true in our current system. But with Ubuntu, value is placed on how much you help others, how much you do not harm others, the value that you contribute to helping humanity and the planet. So people will be raised under that philosophy, and the people that now realize, you know what, if I'm greedy and I start this extra money, I'll start buying in all these cars, etc., then the other people in the Ubuntu community where I'm living are going to look at me as if, what are you doing? There's no value then placed on that, so people then won't want it. They want respect, and respect comes from in the Ubuntu philosophy how you contribute.
Advocate is
it's
that
a change in thinking.
I think there's a lot of respect, you know, being gained for exactly what you're talking about, to be able to live a smaller, more minimalist, less complicated, healthier life.
It's not about minimalist.
Well, you're not looking for, you know, any particular. I'm not advocating for any particular way, but there are a market out there for living differently, and I say viva la difference. Everybody gets to do what they want. So you're advocating for government funding or money or a way to do it, a government structure? Is there taxes involved? Are you just advocating for people to join and help and fund? Are you advocating because there's some government agency or regulation that's preventing you? You know, what is it, the primary thing you're advocating for?
Well, A, there's no money in Ubuntu, so that's the aim, is no money. And B, it's not about living in a basic way. I mean, we in an Ubuntu community, we would live as we do now and better, because the technologies that will be produced will be for the value of the community and not constrained by economic interests. So scientists and the brilliant people in the world would flock to Ubuntu because we can supply everything that they need in order for their inventions to be given free. It's about going and living in a cave somewhere or in a hut somewhere. If you want to do that, you can do that. But living as we do now and better, that's what Ubuntu is about. And the people rule. The people choose the council of elders who manage the day-to-day running of the communities, but the rules are made by the people within that community, and there will be variations of the rules depending on the needs of that community.
But why the focus on no money? What that is just the measurement of value of. I'm not. How do you determine?
You kind of missed the beginning of the show. Is because the money, the whole creation of money was to basically divide and control us. It didn't. The history doesn't really match what we've been told it was. It didn't develop out of barter and trade, and then that happened. It's more that it was introduced from the top down to control the slave planet. That it got so
well,
big.
It's like legal. I agree. If you kind of mean like legal tender laws, you know, what
that's
is
what they're talking
considered
about,
money.
And that was specifically, you know, how do you control your slaves? You keep them thinking they're free. And that's what they're saying. So the way to break that crappy cycle is to stop using money. It's much like, you know, stop using use cryptocurrency, like you were talking about. Step out of the system. They're saying step out of the system so far. You don't use money anymore, and we just create a huge abundance that people don't need money. That's what they're saying.
Okay, I'm wondering that I understand the advocacy. I'm just trying to how that would work. I'm hoping.
Well, that's why they're here to.
Okay, you know, help me, help
Wait
me,
a
help
second.
you.
Shalia finally got back on. I don't know what happened to her, so I'm going to let her jump in and say her piece for a little while.
Well, I don't have any idea what you've been saying because I just got back.
Oh,
my tablet.
Well, I have a
completely
question.
quit.
The Ubuntu project. I'm wondering how it does price discovery. I mean, you don't have prices on anything, so there's no way to barter or trade with other communities other than what they set the price at and the value that. So I'm just wondering if you're eliminating money. I just want to know how life would work. You know, people just do it because
you're focused in on price, which means you're focused in on value, which is an established an amount that's based on what people decide it's worth.
Right.
A man who is starving is going to place a very high value on food, but is that value, I mean, if he's starving to death, wouldn't the value of the food be way, 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 way higher than somebody that wasn't hungry at all? You're focused in so completely on money and money and money and money. Money is the only thing that has measurement. Money is the only thing that you base it around. What is the incentive? Is the incentive to own more than the other guy, or is the incentive to live
the incentive
well?
a desire to do something because it benefits me, because I'm hungry, because I'm cold, because, you know, I like that girl. I mean, incentives. You talk to a 17-year-old about incentives, and it's all about girls. So I'm wondering, you know, how you give the incentive for them to do what you think needs to be done.
You know, one of the things that is being proven out in studies is that the principle that competition is normal, natural, human behavior is not true. People actually benefit more from a cooperative community than they do from am I feeding back? Because I'm hearing myself.
Yeah,
Karen?
you're feeding back because everybody else is
wonder what's
muted.
going on.
I can understand her pretty good.
No, but what are y'all's feeding back?
Yeah, but I'm getting, yeah. I don't have any idea what to do about it.
Let me mute you out for a little bit till you figure it out. Unplug your headset and plug it back in, and then I'll and then just unmute in a little bit. And we'll get back to that.
Taryn, can I answer Ernest for a sec?
Oh, actually, I think Ernest is echoing. Ernest, you might be echoing. All right, go ahead, Ernest. Go ahead, Melanie. Tell him answer that one.
Ernest, the idea is with Ubuntu is that in a system with no money, in a very brief nutshell, is what would happen is people would be asked to do 3 hours per day for 5 days a week of their main vocation, whatever that might be. That might be just one single vocation, or it might be a rotation if somebody doesn't want to stick to one thing, whatever they want to do. And then another 3 hours a week in a social role, such as something different that is a caring role in some way. And 15 hours a week.
Well, different communities, I know, would have different needs and different hours. I'm just wondering who is doing the asking and how hard they ask, and, you know, how many hours they determine. There's a plan. There's incentives for individuals, but if you're part of a community and the community rules, I'm wondering how it rules. I mean, it's a government, you know, I guess. So I'm wondering how it makes that determination. But it doesn't have to be the same for any one over another. I think you're saying, right?
No, basically the people rule. The people choose a council of elders, so 13 people within a town. The people make the rules. The council of elders kind of like oversees and manages it.
Ubuntu is that you agree that there's not going to be any money. It's just based on community need, determined by however that's determined by each community.
So I wonder if I might jump in here for a second. Sorry.
Please.
So Ernest, where we are currently in our current system, we are in a financial system, and it's sort of like saying, well, we're going to stop breathing air because we think that so right now we can't go from our current system to an Ubuntu system without money. So what we are talking about today really is how we can move, create an Ubuntu community which doesn't exist anywhere on the planet yet. So we're talking about creating an Ubuntu community, and wherever it shows up first. But the idea is that that we start with businesses, and the businesses actually are bringing in an enormous amount of money if we've done them correctly. So we create business plans, we create, and we have people in the community who are contributing their hours to make that business run. There will be some people who are, that's their full-time job. Probably the person who came up with the idea to have the business, probably a couple of very skilled manager people, the people who are making sure that the people who are contributing their hours are doing it correctly. And those people will be learning how to make that thing, whatever that thing is, and let's say that thing is a wind turbine, and everybody in town who is contributing wants to have a wind turbine. So the first thing that they do is they make enough wind turbines for everybody who wants one, that is contributing, that is part of that community, contribution community gets a wind turbine. And then they make 2 times more, or they make three thirds. 1/3 goes to the people who have contributed, and 2/3 go to be sold outside of the community. And
okay, now these amounts already predetermined, or is this a suggestion or an example, or?
These amounts are, so we're using thirds. So 1/3 goes to the community, 1/3 goes, 2/3 gets sold out. Those
so there's already a predetermined structure, pretty much, for how this would. Okay, all right.
And it's based on, and that is based on what's the word, Shailia? The sacred geometry. So 3 is one of those numbers that is powerful and simple. You know, it's simple. So in any case, so 1/3 of the products get distributed amongst the people. They get them for free because they've contributed their hours. They just get those. They can set them up in their yard, and they can start generating power from themselves. The rest of what is produced is sold outside of the community. And again, outside of the community could still be the same town, just to the people who are not working, contributing their hours. So, and then also into, you know, across the world perhaps. But in any case, as money comes back into the community, the first thing about the ones that are being sold is that they're sold for much less than other wind turbines because the labor force was free. Right? So because these are contributed hours. So because the company doesn't have to pay for labor, they don't have to charge for the cost of their product for labor. So they as it was pointed out earlier in the show, they can undercut all of the other wind turbine production producers in the world because they're not paying for labor, which means that because of the way that we operate as humans currently in the money system, we tend to buy what's cheaper because we can afford it, right? And especially if it's the same quality or better quality. If that, then we think we've really got a fantastic deal because we got the best wind turbine out there for way less than we could buy the worst wind turbine.
Who came up with this concept? Where did it originate? How did it gain legs with you women? It was developed by whom? When?
This is Michael Tellinger, is the man who has written the book Ubuntu Contributionism, and he's out of South Africa, and he's been promoting Ubuntu Contributionism since about 2005, really. And he's also interested in a lot of other things, but that is what we're talking about tonight, is the Ubuntu Contributionism.
And your attraction to this was, is there something that makes you ladies have a common goal or a common philosophy that would attract you to this?
Yes, for me, I'll speak for myself. The reason that I'm attracted to it is because the current system is broken, and there is, from my perspective, no fixing it. So this, for me, is a way forward that does not include total disaster planning and operating from the space of fear and worry and whatever. We can
I'm with you, sister. Okay.
Ernest, you could have missed in the beginning. The reason I'm having them on is because I feel that we have to evolve and become higher than we are now to get the hell out of this system. Now everybody has different ways of doing it. Some people look to spirituality, walk closer to God, higher vibration, whatever. But we have to change what we're doing, and I like this idea because it cuts some of the stuff out that causes a lot of problems in our society. And I'm an anarcho-capitalist. I'm not a socialist, but I do like some of these ideas, though, of if we removed money and there was massive abundance, why would people have greed, crime, and fight with each other when you can sit there with your 3D printer and do whatever you want? I think it would massively cut down on that negative energy in the world. So is it perfect? Probably not. They're trying to get it started, and they're going to have to adjust as they go and work on stuff. But I do like the idea that at least they're trying to do something at a higher level.
Yeah, no. I'm with. There's something for everybody. That's my advocacy. I'm just, I'm asking. Okay, the incentives. How would this? As long as I'm not required or asked or prevented in some way for them to do whatever they want to do, I am on your side.
Yeah, my understanding is it's small voluntary communities that you can opt into or opt out of. So you just got to find the flavor you like. The libertarian.
To begin with.
Well, they have a particular flavor, though. I mean, we think there shouldn't be money, and that people can live an abundant life with the technology and the methods that we have now by contributing only a few hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is a week to the community. And then you don't have to. I hope the next sentence is there's no need for taxes then.
Well, of course.
Yeah, they hate taxes too. As far as I can tell.
I already gave my time.
Melanie, jump on in, girl. Take it.
Thank you. Yes, of course. No money and no taxes. Because you don't pay taxes if there's no money. And
that's a bumper sticker. No money, no taxes. No money, no taxes. I got it. I copyright Ernie. If I believed in copyright.
And the incentive. I mean, what is the incentive now? The incentive to work is to get money so we can pay for our electricity, our gas, our water, our rent, all the things that we shouldn't have to pay for, because people make this stuff. It's people who work in the electricity industry to generate the electricity, but it's not them that's getting the benefit of that, it's the corporation. So we do everything, the people make everything, and yet we only get a pittance for those very long hours, while the corporation gets the profit. The corporations have decided they own everything. They don't own everything. We own everything. The planet belongs to all of us. Why should we have to pay to live, to survive on a planet we're born on? So this is about us taking back ownership, us taking back control, and it's a way to exit out slowly from the current system without violence. I mean, at the moment, somebody's main focus might be, I hate GMOs, or I hate vaccines, or I hate government. And in order to protest, you have to go to a website and sign up for that protest group or that protest group, or you have to go in the street waving placards, etc. But that doesn't achieve anything. It raises awareness, but that's all, because the current system is designed in order to prevent change. And they actually want us to do all this stuff because they know it's ineffectual. So this way, there's a way of people choosing to slowly extricate themselves from the current system without having to do all that. And it solves all these problems. in one,
You know,
in one go.
Darren will tell you, I agree with everything you just said.
Yep.
You know, this is I'm with you. It's just that I just need to get up to speed on. There's a certain way and advocacy of a method by which you wish to accomplish this, or that as a general statement, this economic system is not working, and we recommend this. And everybody else can do whatever they want, and we encourage you're just marketing. You're letting people know that you exist, and people that agree will flock to you. And I know a lot of people that very well may do that very thing. And so there's a structure in place, or at least being advocated, that somebody with some resources can create a community using your template and have ready-made movers ready to go if they so choose, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, Michael Tellinger has worked out a plan. I mean, it's not perfect. There's going to be variations. It's going to evolve. That, you know, nobody is saying that all the problems will be fixed by this, because the problem is most people in the world at the moment, most adults, we're all damaged. We're damaged with toxins. We're damaged. We've all suffered brain damage to some extent or another through the vaccines and toxins in the air and the food. But the idea is, once we get out of this system, our children and grandchildren will not be damaged. They will have their natural intelligence, their natural ability. We won't have the chronic illnesses we do today. We won't have the amount of cancer. I mean, we all know, if you look into it, I mean, cancer can be cured homeopathically. It is all the time. You know, the drugs, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, they do more damage. And we all understand that when we look into it. Humanity will be less sick, we will live longer, and we will have everything we need and more. And what you've got to remember is work hours that will be required will decrease anyway, because at the moment, things are made to break. Things are made to break in a year or so, once the guarantee goes. We all know that. It doesn't have to be made that way. When you're actually, say for example, I'm in an Ubuntu community and making mobile telephones, then the mobile telephones we produce will be far better in quality than anything that's on the market today, because the idea is to produce mobile telephones for everyone that don't break, that don't go wrong, because when they're not being sold, they're being given away to everybody within the Ubuntu community. Then the idea is you don't want to have to keep replacing bits. So things will be made to a much higher standard. So, yeah.
Let me jump in on this, because we had talked about that you know, and many times we brought it up that we're going to get to a point where we can make our own technology that's a much higher standard, and it doesn't have anything to do with the corporations or government. We'll be able to do this stuff ourselves. I do have a list of questions that I did mean to get to. So I'm going to jump back to our original guest here, and Rebecca. I'm going to give you some shotgun questions here, and Shalia, if you will also feel free to jump in on either of these. All right, according to the Ubuntu website, you have to give up what you already own to come in to an Ubuntu community. Will you ask who gets to keep your stuff that you worked so hard to earn? Is this just a rumor, or is this for real? Is it like a cult where you have to give up your property when you come in?
No, absolutely not. And I'm very curious what website they saw that on, because that is not that nowhere on our information is that a part of what we're about. We are not a cult. We are not. You don't have to give up anything. You're not required. You're not required to do anything, actually. So.
Is there a spiritual or a religious component at all?
Yes, as far as there is not as far as a guru or something like that, but there certainly is as far as being connected to the earth, being aware of a higher consciousness, our own and above, hopefully. But that comes. I mean, it's not like a requirement. You don't have to, but it.
It's just a natural state of a lot of the people that want to associate.
Right, and I think it's actually a natural state that happens as you start hanging around consciousness like that. It just evolves that way. From my personal opinion about that, anyway.
Okay, thank you.
So that's what I'm curious is I'm trying to actually get the real website. Let's just say
Sorry,
it's on the FAQ, but I don't know if she's on your site or someone else's that's similar that's pretending to be you. So let's find that out.
They're certainly not in the book. There's
Okay,
nothing in
yeah,
the
I
book
thought
about
that sounded a little weird, but I did want to address it if people think this, that, you know, here's the answer from, you know, right up the top.
From the horse's mouth, right?
Yeah, that's not true.
Right.
All right, we already discussed, okay. Yeah, we discussed the council's elders, who gets to be on it. You're saying it's kind of works just like an elective, but is it different than like a caste system where they sprung up in socialist catastrophes of the past? I think I'm not exactly sure that question, what that means, but if you want to try to take that, I said it to you earlier.
Well, yeah, it is not a caste system. That, in fact, there is no hierarchy at all. So, and you know what? I think that Shaylia, why don't Shaylia, are you still able to hear? And can you, you have to unmute yourself though.
Oh, she's muted. Yeah, she just unmute. Yeah, if you want to address that, and the other big question that keeps coming up over and over is, what do you do with the invalid people and people who can't actually do anything?
Right. So, all right. So because what the focus is community, right? The focus is community. That's what's important, is community. And so all of the things that we've talked about so far tonight, socialism, capitalism, communism, any of the isms, are focused on very often on how to control people, how to control resources, how to, in their worst forms, how to take advantage of the people who are working, you know, the working people, the working class. And the caste system is another. I don't know that it was in the socialism world, but it certainly is in the is currently in the Hindu world. I don't know what ism it is, but when community is your focus, then you take care of those who cannot take care of themselves. And you do that from the perspective, from the energy of, I care about you. And of course, there is the place of there are people who want to take advantage currently in our current system. There are people who want to take advantage of people who want to give to you. And but I think that again, the consciousness that comes from this movement creates a space where that just doesn't happen. If you're not willing, if you're capable and you're not willing to contribute, then you're not going to stay there very long, because you're just not going to fit. Your energy is not going to fit there. Shaylia, I see that you're unmuted. Do you want to add into this?
I hope so.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to go back to that, what I was trying to respond to when I didn't know I was muted. The Council of Elders, I think it's extremely important to understand and realize that the Council of Elders cannot make law. They cannot make rules that they can impose upon the people. They are mediators to help resolve issues that might be coming up in the community, but they are not in charge of the people. The people make their own rules. And so that's a very, very important distinction there, because what happens is we develop, you know, it has happened so many times in human history. You create a government because you think that you're creating something that will serve the people. Only what happens is you create an entity that does not serve the people, it controls the people. And the entire Ubuntu process is to put the power back into the individual's hands, so that I have power over my own life, and I'm no longer subject to somebody else deciding what I'm going to do. And there's another key here that hasn't been brought up at all that I thought about just a few minutes ago. There's one of the phrases about what Ubuntu actually means is, if it's no good for one, it's no good for anybody. That, you know, if you have a pure democracy where they can make a rule that if you've got blue eyes, if you come into town on Tuesday, everybody can shoot you. And the majority of the people vote for that. So then it becomes a law. And it definitely hurts a certain number of the people that don't dare come into town if they've got blue eyes on Tuesday. The Ubuntu concept and the Ubuntu principle is so strongly based on creating a system that gives benefit to the individual as well as to the community. Both are very, very important. If you do not have a healthy, strong community, the individuals within it are going to be not healthy and going to not be able to live in that community. If you don't have oh, I know what it is. Here's the way to put it. You cannot build true unity on the shoulders of crushed individuals. So if you put too much burden on the individual, is nothing but a worker, nothing but the only thing that makes him valued to the community is that he's not a useless eater. That if you have a system where that is the understanding of the individual, you're not going to be able to create unity within that community. You've got to, in order to have justice, in order to have unity, the individual in the community must have justice and unity. That's all.
Can I jump in, Taryn, quickly?
Sure.
And address that as well. I mean, to say that, what do we do with all the sick people, etc., within the community? I feel like I'm classed at the moment as a useless eater because I suffer from ill health and disability. And I cannot work in the current system because I cannot abide to deadlines or a certain number of hours per week, etc., because I never know how my condition will affect me. So at the moment, I can't contribute to earn my own money. I've done voluntary work for over 20 years because I believe strongly in giving back. Because so in terms of people who cannot do the 18 hours a week, they will be looked after. They won't suffer. They will get they will get whatever they need, just the same as everybody else. Because almost everybody, no matter the level of disability, can do something. I mean, I could do something according to my needs. I could do something to give back. I already help people all the time. I help my neighbour, I help my family, I help my friends in whatever way I can. I don't ask for money for it. I don't ask for something in return for it. I give away food, etc., to people who are poor because I believe in helping other people. And we all really believe in that. Almost everybody believes in that. Almost everybody doesn't sit in their home and not help somebody who needs help. If it's a neighbor or a family, if they can help somebody, they will help somebody. If it doesn't disadvantage them, but they can help somebody, they'll do it. And that's what being human is all about. We all do this, but we are constrained at the moment and restricted within the current system. And people who are ill with disabilities are marginalized and not able to contribute to use their skills to help. Well, with this system, they can. And that's why it's very important to me.
I do want to jump in that I do want to take this just a step further, and I think those are good points, Mel. But if someone was like a vegetative, hooked up on a hospital bed kind of thing where they absolutely just couldn't contribute. Now, back in the day, and again, this is before you got taxed 50 and 70%, there were lots of fraternal orders and private community groups and churches and stuff that would support families like this. It came from the private community. It didn't come from the government. Nobody took care of them. It was because the people were nice people and donated money to help out. And also, it was the family's responsibility. If grandma became a vegetable, then you got to deal with that as your family. It's your responsibility, kind of. And I think that the old ways like that is, if there's true abundancy, I think people would just take care of these people out of being nice. Like that, we have a history of doing it. I don't know. You know how many thousands of dollars I gave away in free healthcare that I didn't have? I mean, hundreds of thousands probably over the years. And I did it just because I wanted to help the community. It wasn't, nobody made me.
So that particular scenario or example would actually that would become a community project, right? Just like you would have nursing homes or whatever, that would be a community project, and so you have people who are contributing their time into that community. Some of the examples that Michael Tellinger has done in his presentations, which I actually did post the link to his YouTube channel, which he has enormous numbers of YouTubes on all kinds of stuff as well, just like you do. But the ones that are based on Ubuntu contributionism, he talks about, for instance, the hospital. Now, happen if we were doing a one small town thing, and I also posted the link to the onesmalltown.org, which is really the blueprint of how to make this manifest sort of in our lifetime, which is why I'm spending so much time doing this, is because I think it's possible in my lifetime to convert us from our current system to something like the Ubuntu model. But in the transition time, the mayor, if it was really a true one small town, the mayor would, because the mayor has access to money, because municipalities have money, so the mayor would invite the best doctors, the best scientists into the community, and they would be paid. They would be paid to come because the municipality has money to do that. That's where they would be allocating their money, is towards that kind of stuff, to attract the highest skilled doctors, the highest skilled healers, maybe not even only doctors, but the highest skilled scientists and the inventors, all of that. Invite them to come to the town to start creating the cures for these diseases, creating technology that doesn't exist yet, because the town has the money to be able to create the laboratories and the R&D facilities and the whatevers. And so those scientists would say, wow, well, I know that I need to have this guy and this woman and this person to come and help me. And so you start getting the best minds coming to this town because of what's actually happening in that town. And so from there, that hospital becomes, if we just focus on the doctor or the healers, that hospital becomes known countrywide, and people start flocking there because they want to be healed. They don't want to be sick anymore. They don't have to be part of the community. They don't have to contribute their hours. They come and they spend their money. It costs them less than it would cost them at a different hospital because the labor is free. But so money starts coming into the town because of the things that the town is doing and the people that the town has invited, and the creations and the things that community is building. And so you can start to see that when you start envisioning from that level, how quickly an Ubuntu community, a one small town kind of community, can transform that area and actually even the country in a very short period of time. It just takes that one first small town from the perspective of having the mayor and the city council on board, which currently we don't have. The one in Walsenburg is coming from the ground up, so we don't have the town applying its funds yet into community projects. But that's the concept with one small town, is that it starts at the mayor and city council level, and the funds of the municipality are applied toward creating an Ubuntu town model.
I like a lot of those ideas, but it can be a tough road, because there are some things like turning to the government to fix a problem that the government created is kind of usually a very difficult path. I'm surprised they don't just find some rich people who believe in this idea, buy a bunch of acreage and start a small town and say, screw you, we're going to do our own town. I think almost that would be easier than trying to turn a current government, because they're always incentive. Why would a mayor give away all of his power and money? It would be tough to convince someone to do that, unless you.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do have to tell you that so again, I don't think that we are unique in what we're feeling, that we look out into the world and we see that it's broken. I don't think that mayors don't look out into their world and see that it's broken. In fact, there are mayors out there that are concerned about that they got into that role. And that's actually why he chose the town level, is because mayors, especially in small towns, got into those positions because they wanted to help their town, not because there was a lot of money in it. You know, many small towns don't have a lot of money. So it's not like it's okay, I get to sit back and be a fat cat now. So, I mean, and there are, of course, there are people who do, but or mayors who do, but that is why the smaller town was chosen, is exactly for what you were just mentioning.
Yeah, that's a great start. Ernest, you want to chime in? You've been quiet for a while.
No, I'm just listening. You know, I'm getting work done too while I'm doing this. We're going longer than I planned, but I've enjoyed the conversation. So
yeah,
I'm
there's some really cool ideas in here. Now,
I'm sorry.
I said there's really cool ideas. I mean, they got some cool ideas. I'd like to see some of these. I'm just
well, the one thing that kind of surprised me is she's talking about they have a town already, or you know, a couple that are interested in listening and participating in some way, and you know, that's encouraging to see that they still have things people can try without going to Guantanamo right away. So I'm encouraged by that.
Right on. Let's pass it back. Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I mean, we have to do something. We have to, because time is running out. I mean, I was watching recently a series called The Truth About Vaccines. The statistics are shocking. By 2032 in America, 1 in 2, if the rate of autism carries on increasing at the current rate, then by 2032, 1 in every 2 children born will be autistic. 80% of male babies born will be autistic. Now, 80% of males autistic, and between the both of us, half of all people will be autistic after 2032 in America. Now, you know, we can argue till the cows come home about what causes this. There's a lot of evidence to suggest what causes this, and it's multifactorial, but it's driven by money, by profit. So, you know, the pharmaceutical companies don't care about the health of the people. You know, great if it does help people, but as long as they make profit, that's their primary driver.
You know, it's amazing to me how we always have the same goal, and there's just so many different ways of getting to it, and we criticize each other way too much. Every Tuesday on my show, I do 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and for at least 1 to 2 hours every Tuesday, Dr. Judy Mikovits wrote the book Plague on the vaccine studies and so on. The movie, Dale Bigtree that did Vax the movie, we've done events here for him. We had September 10th of this last year, we did the vaccineeducationsummit.com, where you can go and listen to the videos of all the scientists that we brought in. We took Vaxxed and we have DVD duplicators and did 3,000 movies and put them all around in the parking garages at the local maternity hospitals and the legislature. And we're activists. So this is something I know well. My daughter had lots of blood transfusion when her uterus ripped for having her first child, and she got a chronic fatigue syndrome and a bunch of stuff from all the vaccines and everything that's in it. So we've been curing her with, protocols that have been suggested by the scientists that we've had on. Dad got involved in this thing. So I have 10 grandkids, and none of them that I know of have been vaccinated. They just, nope, that was the decision that we made. They're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and we knew from our experience. But there was a lost generation in there. We just did a show Tuesday. They're talking about SID, sudden infant death syndrome, was a side effect of these vaccines, and they were hiding that. And they have the stats on it. So, yes, I know. The CDC whistleblower was a scientist that knew that they were lying, that came out and admitted to it. Then you subpoena them and they're not allowed to testify. I mean, it's so bad. That's what my show and my website is just how bad it is. But to go, what's going to make it better. And if I'm saying it's freedom, it's the freedom to do exactly what you're doing and advocate for people that want to live the way that you do, and they feel here that they want to do it. They may change, other people may change their mind, you move, but there will always be an Ubuntu area because you guys desire it. It will always be an opportunity for that. I'm wanting to advocate for all of the ideas that motivate people for whatever incentive for them to do it. And I have my own way I want, and mostly it'd just be family, but I'm so inspired by I'm glad Taryn had me come on, because there's people actually doing something and around the world. So I'm like, 2 thumbs up, family, good fun for that. And I applaud you women for taking care of this and explaining it to me. Thanks for letting me come in so late and explaining this to me. I think I understand. And I'm sure Taryn be a contact that maybe one of you might want to come on my radio show and we'll talk about it. But Taryn, man, I got to go. I got to get my dispatch out.
And asking the questions
Well,
that the audience was wanting to know. I'll hook you up with them if they want to come on your radio show and get some more exposure for these ideas.
Yeah, thanks, Taryn. It's always a pleasure talking with you, man.
Yep.
Wait, hold it. Before you go,
Yes,
I just want you to know I am also the grandmother of 10 grandchildren, and 100% of them are 100% not vaccinated. I just thought I'd share that.
Well, they did, they kind of tricked them into the, what do they call it, the vitamin K or something. And I thought it used to be like a drops in the eyes, and they, then they come and give a shot in there. Whoa, hey. They'll be penetrating the flesh.
Ours don't even have that. We don't even have that because they weren't born in hospitals. They were born at home. So they don't have anything.
We're learning all this stuff, and we're sharing. Thank you for sharing with me. I appreciate it. Bye, Taryn. I got to go, man.
Thanks, Ernie. Thanks. I appreciate you coming in. Let's as much as anybody knows me, I'm not a vaccine fan. I do want to get back on the topic of
yeah, I know.
We kind of went off on a tangent there, but that's a topic for a whole nother night, because it just brings out so much debate, and I don't like that whole negative side. Like, I try to keep my stuff positive and uplifting and not people arguing with each other, and that is a topic that is a landmine topic. Although it's an important topic, I want to focus on the topic at hand of, let's go back to these ideas of and people having questions that are streaming through. I mean, there were so many questions I couldn't even keep up. I think a lot of another one I saw is, and I know you kind of played with this one, but the one about you guys were saying that you would attract doctors in and people that were more that the people that are necessary, I think, for a community, like, hey, I'd love some engineers that actually know how power works and that sort of thing. When they come in, the website I'm reading is because Liz linked me to the frequently asked questions, and it's kind of confusing because it does sound like you give away your property when you come in. It says nobody owns any property in the community. Does the community own all the land and they just allot you a section and you build whatever you want or do whatever you want? So how does that work?
Well, Shalia, do you want to go there or do you want me to go there?
Well, I only partly. Let's both do it. First of all, you really need to get the idea of transition.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
We are not in an Ubuntu world, and if I own a house, I'm not going to have somebody coming into me and say into my house and saying, "Hey, you don't own your house anymore." It's not going to happen. But over a period of time, yes, it will transition into the concept. How can you own the air? How can you own the water? How can you own the land? But I can't own my personal stuff. Yes, I can own the things that I create for my home myself. I can own the house that I build, but I don't own the land because the land belongs to the earth, and the land is under the governance of the people. So it will get there gradually, but no, we're not going to be going into some community and saying, you don't own your house anymore. That's just not going to happen.
Well,
you want to go on with that, Rebecca?
Because I think it's getting so mixed up because there's a picture of, okay, here's what it's going to look like when we end, and oh yeah, here's the transition, and people are just blending the two together, and I'm like, okay. So maybe there's going to get to a point where there's so much abundance, people aren't going to care about property ownership. Is that's the end goal?
if we come back to the idea of freedom, so we think that we're free, right? Because we own a house. But if I want to go to Florida, and I have my house here, and I might want to live in Florida for 6 months or 6 years or whatever, then I think, okay, I have to sell my house there, and then I have to buy a house there. If we're in the Ubuntu world or the Ubuntu model, it doesn't have to be called Ubuntu. And that's actually one of the things I want to say too, that right, as long as we're still labeling it Ubuntu, New Earth Nation, as long as we're still labeling things, we're not there yet. There'll come a time when that's just our world, but we're not there yet. So if I live here in Colorado, and the world is Ubuntu, the world has this, we are no longer working with money, then I don't have to sell my house. I don't have to do, I can go to Florida, I go to the Ubuntu town, and I say, here I am, this is my schedule, I'm available, I'm logging in basically to say I'm available to do my contribution. And they say, okay, well, we have a house here, and we have a house there, and we have a house there. Which house would you like to have? And I say, well, that one sounds great. The one over there by the ocean, I'd love to be by the ocean. And they give me the keys to the house, or maybe we don't even have to worry about keys, whatever. I just go there, and that's where I'm now staying while I'm there, as long as I'm contributing into the community. From the transition perspective, what I can imagine happening, because I'm thinking about it myself, is that when I have property in an Ubuntu town that is mine, that I paid for, that is whatever, when I'm leaving that town or whatever, for lack of a better way, I donate it to the community, and it just what that means is that then the community can use it for the next person who comes into the town. If I sell it, it might be sold to somebody who doesn't hold the same values as I do for an Ubuntu community. And I want the stuff that I have worked for to be contributing to community. And so I can imagine that there would be other people who would be doing something similar. And so that's sort of, or even as the town gets more and more money, it continues to buy houses. As people leave, the community itself buys the houses, and so that there are places for people to live when they come there with the Ubuntu consciousness. That's sort of a nutshell on that concept, I think, anyway. Hopefully that answers.
There's another thing. There's something else really important here. There are more empty houses in this country than there are homeless people. And that says everything in a nutshell. You know, we have enough houses. We don't have to have any homeless. But when you put money in there and you put greed in there, it's the same thing with the vaccinations. We will have these killer vaccines being sold as long as there's money out there, and as long as somebody wants to make that money. They'll do whatever they have to do to make it.
Can I chime in, if that's okay?
Of course. Take on, girl.
Thanks. Yeah, I think what people have to realise, and I know this has been talked about already, but you know, once a large group of people in an existing town join up and decide they want to go live by this system or start living by this system in the transitional phase, very quickly, because of the way the transitional the model is, that community will have so much money in order to start this process off. And like Rebecca said, perhaps as people who are in the community want to move to another town, they can buy their homes, and then that becomes part of the Ubuntu world. You know, they will have so much money because all the labour for producing the goods from the community projects is donated free. And you know, where the excess, part of the excess is sold, and that money goes into collectively developing more community projects and building the infrastructure for the Ubuntu community to grow. So very quickly, it will be an exponential rise in prosperity for everybody, as well as collectively, individually and collectively. So people will be attracted to it, even if at the moment they're doubtful, even if they cannot perceive this would ever work. if my neighbouring town starts doing this and we start hearing and seeing about all these people and they've got all this money because that, you know, because the excess goods are being sold and part of it is going to the contributors, and I'm going to want that lifestyle. I'm going to want that. So I'm going to try and find a way either to move there or to get other like-minded people in my own town to sign up and start it here. And then once that happens, the two different communities will start helping each other and developing each other and supporting each other. And it will grow exponentially. And people cannot, I don't understand why people seem to have this issue with people working for free. People work for free every day. You know, I'm not talking about your employment, but everybody works for free in helping each other. People come on the internet on these shows and give their ideas over for free. They're not saying that idea is mine, I've patented it, nobody else can use it. They're volunteering these ideas for free on all these internet shows, etc., you know, because they want to help humanity. They want humanity to get better. So people work for free all the time. It's just at the moment we're enslaved in the system. I mean, I don't believe it's an issue with people working for free. As long as you're prosperous, you got what you want, you got what you need, and everybody else has as well. So I think people need to start considering that a bit more.
And actually, Mel, you bring up a really good, the word work, right? We have a concept of what work is, and because of being attached to money, work is like this negative thing. We have to, like, you go to work for your 40 or 60 or 80 hours a week, and then you go home, and then if you have any energy left, you watch TV or you do whatever. But work from when you don't have to do it for money is actually not work. It's not, it wells up from out inside of us and creates a completely different energy. And when from an energetic perspective, that idea alone for me is like, absolutely, I want to be around that kind of energy where people are just completely giving from their heart space, not from I have to make money so I can eat space.
Exactly. I mean, if I lived in a Ubuntu community, I'd want to help on a farm. I love animals, I love plants. You know, that would be my main thing I would really want to do. In some way or another, I would want to work with animals and plants. You know, but at the moment, you know, that's so difficult to do as a business or anything like that. I couldn't do it. But in the Ubuntu world, I could. I mean, look how many people working in offices or factories. They don't enjoy their jobs. They hate it. I can remember waking up in the morning and thinking, oh no, I've got to go to work again. You know, we shouldn't have to feel like that. If you want to be an artist, be an artist. You know, everything will be supplied to you because art is important. It helps the community. You will be encouraged and supported, and your needs will be met so that you can be an artist and you can develop those skills and become an expert because it's what you want to do. And if after 10 years you decide, you know what, I don't want to be an artist anymore, I want to be a sculptor, then great. Go and be a sculptor then. There's no restriction on that. There's nothing stopping you from doing what you want to do. And some people just don't want to specialize in any one thing. They just want to keep rotating and doing different things. And that is fine as well.
Actually, you bring up another really important part. You bring up a really important point, right? What you're saying there of wanting to do this, again, past the transition, right? The transition period looks a lot like this and starts to change. But once we've transitioned, the education system will be completely different. So you won't be going to school. You will be participating in community projects. We will all be exponentially learning all of these different skills, all of the things. So I am currently not an artist, but it's because I don't give myself an opportunity to be creative because I'm so busy working. When we are connecting with the masters, the master plumber, the master electrician, the master carpenter, the master sculptor, the master painter, because I want to learn how to paint, or I want to learn to be a plumber or whatever, I'm learning from the most skilled people in the town, and I'm learning from them because it helps the community, and he or she is sharing that knowledge because it helps the community. I'm not paying them, they're not paying me. There is not about that. It's about desire to be engaged in the community at the level of what serves the community best. And everything. I mean, I know that it's really difficult to imagine it, but it'll be so different that this conversation that we're having right now will seem like kindergarten to that future us. Yes, Shelia.
Right. I think it's hard because
Yeah.
there's just brand new infant community starting, and people are like, yeah, how's all this going to work? And, you guys got to remember, they're going to figure it out as they go. A lot of this is theories, but at least they're trying and not sitting on their butts going, well, the system sucks, but I guess we got to do so. Let's just stay with it because no one's going to ever change anything. I mean, it's a nice positive move, and I think no matter what, you might have a problem with 10 or 15%. You still got to kind of support what they're doing because they're trying to do something positive and break out of this crappy system. So kudos to you, ladies, and the movement for at least being brave enough to try something cool. And
So
I'm going to I'll give you the floor for a few minutes, but I have to wrap it up in about 10 minutes. So
okay.
go
So
ahead.
I do believe that if you look at most of the questions that come in from people about what this whole thing is about, I would suspect 90% of the questions would have to do with something along the order of, what are you going to force us to do? What are we going to be forced to do in this whole thing? And the key on the entire Ubuntu principle is that nobody's forced to do anything. It is 100% coming from desire, from the heart, from the spirit, and from freedom to choose. And that's
Yeah.
really what the whole thing is in a nutshell.
I don't think anyone's going to have a problem. I mean, let me just say this to the community. If you have a problem with people trying to live this lifestyle voluntarily, then you really got to check yourself and talk about if you're really going to evolve or not, because these people just want to go try and experiment and do this. If it's not affecting you and it doesn't bug you, and there's going to be a lot of people that listen to this and go, maybe I better look into this. It sounds pretty cool. I don't think it's for everybody right now. It's not. There's some people that are just too ingrained in the old world to let go, and that's okay. But there are going to be some people that listen to this and go, man, I need to look more into this. I like this part. I like this part. Not crazy about this part, but I like this part. Fine, it evolves, man. But at least they're doing something. So I'm very excited that people are getting off their butts and trying some stuff. And so I think everybody needs to at least acknowledge that kudos to trying to bring up the vibration and trying to be better people. I do have a little housekeeping I have to do for. It's funny that we're talking about living without money, but I have to thank all the people who donated money. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for donating for the show tonight. Jamie, brand new, thanks so much, dude. I'm looking forward to my tinfoil hat. He keeps saying I need one that looks like a fedora, like a cool pimp hat. Now I'll do that. But thanks for keeping it on. Karen, you always donate. I really appreciate it. Big love. Paula, same with you. You guys give me stuff every week, and I keeps the lights on, keeps the cat fed. And Ban Jojo, which his new donation, very, very grateful. Magi, very cool every week. And Dana every week. I don't know why Dana keeps donating. She's a member on this team, but okay, thank you. And Creamy, man, coming back. Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm trying to live a much more grateful lifestyle, and I'm so grateful that you guys are helping make up the gap for the YouTube boycott, and it does matter a lot to me, so thank you. It would be lovely one day if we didn't have money, because money does kind of create a lot of, I see that path, money that could leads to division, which leads to envy and greed, and that whole road. But if everybody had everything, would we still have those problems? And logically, my brain says no. I mean, why would I be envious of a kid who has the latest new iPhone when I can go to my 3D printer and print the same damn iPhone, for free practically, out of scrap? It's going to really change society when we get to that point where technology can level that stuff out. That who's going to be envious when you can go print your own TV screen? And I think we're trying to use these old ideas too of like, well, we're going to have these factories and we're going to have to crank out these TVs. And what about the town next to us that's going to do that? I think we're going to move into a place where we can manufacture whatever we want ourselves in small communities. Like technology is getting to the point where we can, you want a TV? Let's print it out. Whatever. It's going to, I think it's going to solve a lot of these problems that we're bringing up tonight. So I think we need to break out of this this little box and go bigger, man. Imagine bigger. And I'm really hoping that that happens, because I would love to see everybody get whatever they want and this world chill out. You know, this world stop being so angry and divisive. And I think these ladies are on a really nice start.
Well, I do want to, and I know you need to. First, I want to
No, we
thank
got
you
10
for the
minutes
time.
left, but I wanted to say that piece before I got too busy.
Yeah, I would like to thank you for what you're doing here. I think this is great. And I'm very appreciative and grateful to have been able to participate. And I want to make sure that there's an understanding that the United States is one team, but Canada is on board, Ireland's on board, the UK is on board, obviously, here's Mel, Germany's on board. I got an email from some folks in Hong Kong who are interested, but there's like countries all across the planet who are creating the core initial national team. So this movement is gaining momentum and gaining awareness across the planet, and so pretty much no matter where you are, you can sort of reach out and find somebody who's like-minded and start participating in this kind of a way. So
yeah, and I also want to remind people that both Shalia and Mel are both in the Discord already. So if you have, because you're going to have a million questions after this show, I'm sure they'll be happy to sit and talk with you for hours about this stuff, and you can access them directly. And I'm trying to bug Rebecca into coming into Discord and trying to get her to go, so you guys can continue to talk to them, because there is going to be some people that listen to this that are really interested, but they're like, I'm kind of sold on it, but what about this part? Or I'm kind of sold, you know. And I think the little one-on-one talking will help. I'm very excited about that. Shalia, do you want to say some parting words before we close this puppy up?
I just want to say thank you for having us on your show. It's been fabulous. I've enjoyed it very much.
Oh, well, that's easy. Anything else? Thank you. You're welcome. Hey, man, Mel, I have to give credit. Mel set this up, because I kept saying, man, I really wish I could get in touch with these people, and she went really out of the way, and so big kudos to you, Melanie. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I'm so pleased this has happened, because I really am passionate about change. And the way I see it, I think there's like 5 more groups of people at the moment, and the ones that are really important here are the awakened community. And I think within that community, you've got a lot of people who recognize the problems, but aren't actively doing anything at the moment in order to make a change, and that needs to change. And we can moan till the cows come home about all the problems, but it's not going to change anything. We have to do something, and that means changing, and it means doing something like Ubuntu in order to change the system we're in, because we have to do it. Otherwise we may just go back to, we might as well just like stop all this and go back and watch TV. I mean, what is the point otherwise? I would recommend everybody read the Ubuntu book, because I came across it and I went on the website, I watched the YouTube videos, but all of my questions were answered just by reading the book, and you can get it in ebook or hard copy.
Let me cut in for a sec. If you're gonna buy the book, please go through my Amazon link. Go through my Amazon link and buy this book. It helps support the show. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, please do it, because it's a brilliant book. It will teach you all about where money came from, how it's been used to control us over the years. It goes into the a bit about the Illuminati and the elites, and then it describes how to change. And come on, people, we've got to do something. I mean, I get so fed up with saying to people, do you know about vaccines? Do you know about GMOs? Do you know about this and that? And people saying, well, yeah, but what can I do about it? And individually, nothing. But collectively, we can. Why these laws that we exist in at the moment only work with our cooperation, with our belief that they are just. And we don't have to live under that system. Why do we have to? You know, we can change it. So please, you know, get involved,
Yep.
everybody.
Thank you so much, guys. Again, if you want to talk to Mel some more, hear more of our ideas, two of these ladies will be in Discord. I'm hoping Rebecca at least comes over there for
I don't
a
know
while.
how to.
I'll
Yeah.
send you a link for the
Oh,
Discord.
it's easy. Hey, I can do it, Rebecca. If I
There you
can
go.
get in there, you can.
But I would love you guys to keep the conversation going about this. Again, I think this show's about lifting ourselves up in positivity, and the one thing we can all agree on is the system we have is destructive and negative and keeping mankind down. So anyone that wants to try some stuff and build it up, it's way better than what we got now, man. It might not be perfect. It might even crash and burn. But you know what? I'd rather be in a system that crashes and burns than stay in this crappy one we have here. So, like, have some courage and try some stuff and think about this, because I know if I was close enough, I think I would try something like this just to see what it's like. And if it's voluntary, I'll just leave if I don't like it. But it could be amazing. It's better. I'm just, you know, let's evolve, people. Come on now.
There's
Come on,
there's
let's
another
do
thing
it.
I'd like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. You know, Ubuntu is really huge, really massive, massive change in changing the entire paradigm of society. And it's really a wonderful thing to focus on. And it's so nice to have something good to focus on instead of the whole Mandela effect is just so crazy and so weird and what in the world is going on. You know, it's nice to have something positive to go toward. That's what I'm thinking. You know, Mandela is confusing, and then we've got the economy crashing, and we've got the world going to war. We've got, you know, strike vessels, missiles going off, and we've got, you know, all of this stuff going on all over the planet. And then we've got Ubuntu, which is, hey, let's build a new society. And it's really nice. It's really just nice.
Yeah, it's a wonderful point.
Exactly.
We talk about it all the time on the show. I'm always yelling at people to leave Facebook, don't watch the news, don't watch TV. The more you focus on that reality, it becomes your life. And those are things that, honestly, 99.999% of the time, it's never going to affect your life. So just ignore that crap and go focus on something positive. And having something like an Ubuntu or some sort of way you're trying your own little community or building a community garden, or hell, doing anything that's like trying to reach out and build people up, you're gonna feel a lot better use of your time, man. Stop getting involved in that junk that brings you down. Just quit it. Quit it right now. You listening? Stop it. So go do something positive and great, man. You got it in you, and we get so sucked in, man. I'm telling you, somebody will come in here and start talking about politics, and I'll yell at them and be like, "Stop it! We're not talking about it." As far as I'm concerned, that stuff doesn't exist. And it's always there if you want it. Fear and misery is always there if you want it, and it will be happy to welcome you in with open arms. You know, it takes real courage to go towards the other direction and find something really positive to focus on and build yourself up. And that's, I mean, this is what these ladies are saying. You know, they feel comfort by going to trying to focus on building a good community. And that's a wonderful solution instead of just sitting around bitching about the economy here and how bad the system is, and which I've done tonight. But
I have to tell you that working with the people that I work with, I have such an incredibly positive outlook on what's happening in the world because of the people that I'm connected with every single day, and what's happening in Walsenburg. I just came back from there. It's about a 3.5 hour drive from where I live, and I spent the weekend down there, and the energy of the people who are doing the stuff down there, I'm just like, oh, I have to get down here. And I know that that's true with every single person that I talk with. When they get involved with a project of some sort, it just is inspiring because it's this step toward a life that we want to live. And we're not there yet, but we're walking in that direction. And it's almost like Sodom and Gomorrah sort of in flames behind us, and we just keep walking toward the light, and it's incredibly inspiring from my perspective. I get my energy just lifts, you know, huge amounts when I'm working with the Ubuntu stuff. So.
Yeah.
Me too. And you know, every night before I go to sleep, I ask, you know, I concentrate, I think about what my life would be like if I was living in a Ubuntu world. And I constantly ask, you know, I try to manifest it, but not just spiritually. You know, I'm trying to do something physically in order to support the movement as well. And all skills are needed. You know, don't sit there and think, well, you know, they're not going to need me. What can I do to help? There's nobody else in my life, you know, that believes in this, you know, in my real life, not internet life. But the thing is, you need to spread awareness, because there are a lot of people who would believe in it if they understood it. And, you know, just talking to people, you know, doing whatever you can to spread the word and spread awareness, and direct people to find out more about it themselves. Because, and the Ubuntu movement needs everybody. It needs your skills. Even if you don't believe you have any, you do. I assure you, you do. So no matter who you are, please join your national Ubuntu movement. If there isn't one, join Ubuntu Planet, because once there is a national circle set up, they will contact all the people from their country who have already joined and ask if they can contribute or what they would like to do, you know, or whether they just want to be a member for the minute and just see what happens. But we need everybody. Every person has skills that, you know, are essential to building up the Ubuntu movement.
Absolutely.
So please join.
All right, thank you guys. I'm going to have to wrap this up in a minute, but Marlena, would you mind dropping the Discord link one more time for the folks? And Rebecca, you can just click the link she's dropping right now, and that'll take you to Discord. And
perfect.
Everybody will set you up there. Now, you know, this is we went an hour less because I have a blood work seminar early in the morning, because some reason continuing ed classes start at like 8 a.m. On a Friday. So, am I excited about this blood work? I'm going to go in positive, and I'm going to try to learn something new. But yeah, continuing ed. So I have to do that junk to keep my license, and otherwise we keep this conversation going for another hour. So I really won't be in Discord too much tonight. I might just pop over to say hi. But I am going to go get an early sleep. I'm very, very excited that this happened, and maybe if there's enough interest, we'll do another sometime and dive into this. Get a progress report on your town in a few months and see what's going on over there.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Love y'all. Okay. Support each other. Stay positive, and be nice to your cat. I'll talk to you later. Head out.
Bye.
Bye. There's a cat. Yeah, there you go. Go ahead and show your cat. I'll lock that in there for the ending shot. See, you know what's up. See, if I'd known you had a cat the whole time, you would have gotten way more screen time. I didn't realize the cat was. When Mel had her cat, I just locked it in on her for a while.
That's not even my cat. He lives across the road.
I stopped the entire show to look at your cat. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. Everybody stop. Let's look at this cat.
I did know, I noticed that your cat's not around your neck tonight.
He's been catting around at night. He won't come in after the winter ended. He's got spring fever, so he's really just he's in that grouchy teenager phase where he just comes home and does his laundry and takes money from me and eats and then leaves. Like, you know, that college kid. That's basically what my cat is right now. He just comes in, gets what he wants. Maybe he recognizes he knows me for a minute. Like, you know, he'll maybe give me a little head nod, like, "Oh yeah, you're still here," and then that's it. He's all of a sudden not this loving, sweet cat like he was in the winter. So I'm hoping that comes back when the weather comes back, I guess. Maybe he'll get all cuddly again.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cats.
Okay.
I don't try to understand them. So yeah, we'll just keep talking, because you see, this is what's up. If you start talking about cats, the show will go for like another 30 minutes and won't stop. So I'm ending this. All right, y'all. Thank you for supporting the show.
Thank you, Karen. I'll speak to you soon, Rebecca.
I'll see you guys in the Discord room.
See you in a minute, Sheila. Okay.